Tonight on The Sleepy Scientist, we rate drifting gently through the quiet pathways of the mind to explore one of the most intimate connections in our daily lives: how the food you eat affects your brain. From the peaceful moment a bite touches your tongue to the gentle chemistry that shapes your thoughts and dreams, we'll journey through the beautiful relationship between nourishment and consciousness. From the first whisper of flavor that awakens your taste buds to the complex dance of molecules that feed your neurons, we'll explore how every meal becomes part of your very thoughts. In this gentle exploration, we'll discover how the simple act of eating weaves itself into the fabric of your mind, creating the biochemical poetry that makes you who you are. So settle in peacefully, and let us drift together through the quiet science of how nutrition nurtures not just your body, but your very consciousness itself. In the quiet spaces between your thoughts, something remarkable happens. Every moment of every day, your brain, that 3-pound universe nestled within your skull, whispers softly to your body, asking for nourishment. It speaks in the gentle language of chemistry, requesting the precise molecules it needs to keep your consciousness flowing like a peaceful stream. Tonight, we'll listen to these whispers. We'll explore how the apple you bite at breakfast becomes part of a memory formed at lunch. We'll discover how the omega-3 fatty acids in your evening salmon swim gently through your bloodstream to strengthen the very connections between your thoughts. We'll learn how every sip of water, every morsel of food, every vitamin and mineral you consume becomes woven into the delicate tapestry of your mind. This is a journey through one of nature's most beautiful relationships, the intimate dance between what you eat and who you are. It's a story told in the quiet language of neurotransmitters and blood sugar, of antioxidants and amino acids, of the gentle ways your body transforms the world around you into the thoughts within you. Your brain, floating peacefully in its cerebrospinal fluid, consumes about 20% of all the energy your body uses each day. This remarkable organ never sleeps, never rests, never stops its quiet work of turning nutrients into consciousness. Even now, as you listen to these words, glucose molecules are crossing the blood-brain barrier like tiny messengers carrying energy to your neurons. Amino acids from your last meal are being transformed into the neurotransmitters that color your mood and sharpen your focus. The relationship between food and brain is not merely about fuel and function, though it is certainly that. It's about the poetry of transformation, the gentle alchemy by which the physical world becomes the ethereal realm of thought and feeling. When you eat a handful of walnuts, you're not just consuming calories and protein. You're gathering the building blocks of neural membranes, the essential fatty acids that will become part of the very structure through which your thoughts flow. This connection between nutrition and cognition has been recognized for millennia, though our scientific understanding has deepened like a river growing wider as it flows toward the sea. Ancient physicians understood that certain foods could calm the mind or sharpen focus. Traditional medicine systems around the world developed elaborate theories about how different foods affected mental clarity and emotional balance. Modern neuroscience has confirmed many of these ancient wisdoms, while revealing new layers of complexity in the beautiful relationship between plate and psyche. As we begin our gentle journey through this landscape of nourishment and thought, let us remember that every bite you take is a choice not just about what your body will become, but about how clearly you'll think, how balanced you'll feel, and how well your mind will serve you. In the quiet moments and the challenging ones alike, the science we'll explore tonight is not merely academic knowledge to be filed away in some distant corner of memory. It's practical wisdom that you can use with every meal, every snack, every sip of tea or glass of water. It's understanding that can transform not just what you eat, but how you think about eating, shifting from unconscious consumption to mindful nourishment of both body and mind. So let us drift gently forward, carrying with us a sense of wonder at the remarkable ways your body and brain work together, transforming the simple act of eating into the complex miracle of consciousness itself. In the quiet depths of your body, far below the level of conscious awareness, an ancient conversation unfolds every moment between your brain and your digestive system. This dialogue, conducted in the gentle language of hormones and neurons, represents one of the most intimate relationships in human biology, the connection between the mind that thinks and the gut that digests. Your brain and your digestive system developed together over millions of years of evolution, growing into partners so closely connected that scientists now speak of the gut-brain axis, a bidirectional highway of communication that carries information back and forth between your thoughts and your digestion in a constant, peaceful flow of molecular messages. Consider for a moment the remarkable journey that begins with your decision to eat. Before food even touches your lips, your brain has already begun preparing your digestive system. The sight of food, the aroma drifting from a kitchen. Even the simple thought of eating triggers a cascade of gentle signals that flow from your brain down through the vagus nerve, that wandering pathway that connects mind and gut like a biological telephone line. Your brain releases acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that whispers to your stomach, preparing it to receive and process whatever nourishment you're about to provide. Saliva begins to flow, carrying enzymes that will begin breaking down starches before you even swallow. Your stomach starts producing acid, creating the perfect chemical environment for protein digestion. All of this happens because your brain, in its infinite wisdom, has learned to anticipate and prepare for the nourishment to come. But the conversation doesn't flow in only one direction. Your digestive system speaks back to your brain with equal eloquence, sending signals about what it's receiving, how well the digestion is proceeding, and what nutrients are becoming available for use. The cells lining your intestinal wall produce dozens of different hormones and signaling molecules, each carrying specific information back to your brain about the state of your nutrition and the availability of energy. When you haven't eaten for several hours, your stomach produces a hormone called ghrelin, the gentle messenger that creates the sensation we call hunger. Ghrelin travels through your bloodstream to receptors in your hypothalamus, that ancient part of your brain that oversees basic survival functions. There, it whispers quietly, it's time to seek nourishment. Your brain responds by increasing your awareness of food, making that apple on the counter seem more appealing, making the memory of your favorite restaurant float more readily to consciousness. After you eat, different messengers take up the conversation. Your intestines produce hormones like GLP-1 and CCK, which travel to your brain carrying the peaceful message of satiety. Enough has been received. The body is nourished. Rest now from seeking food. These same hormones also influence your brain's reward systems, creating the gentle satisfaction that comes with a well-balanced meal. This intricate communication system evolved to do far more than simply regulate when and how much you eat. It represents your body's way of ensuring that your brain, that energy-hungry organ that consumes a fifth of all your calories, receives the steady stream of nutrients it needs to maintain consciousness, process thoughts, form memories, and regulate emotions. The blood-brain barrier, that selective gateway that protects your neural tissue from potentially harmful substances, works like a gentle but discerning doorkeeper. It allows glucose, your brain's primary fuel, to pass freely, ensuring that your neurons never lack for energy. It carefully regulates the passage of amino acids, the building blocks of neurotransmitters, creating a steady but controlled flow of the raw materials your brain needs to manufacture the chemicals of thought and emotion. Certain nutrients receive special treatment at this barrier. Omega-3 fatty acids, essential for neural membrane function, are actively transported across. B vitamins, crucial for energy metabolism within neurons, are ushered through specific transport systems. Iron, necessary for oxygen transport to brain tissue, crosses through carefully regulated channels. This selective permeability ensures that your brain receives what it needs while being protected from what it doesn't. The relationship between your brain and your nutrition extends even to the level of your genes. What you eat influences the expression of thousands of genes in your brain tissue, turning up or down the production of proteins involved in neural growth, memory formation, and emotional regulation. This means that your food choices don't just affect how you feel today. They influence how your brain develops and maintains itself over time. Within your brain tissue itself, specialized cells called microglia act as gentle gardeners, constantly monitoring the local environment and responding to the nutritional signals they receive. When these cells detect adequate nutrition, they support neural growth and maintenance. When they sense inflammatory signals from poor nutrition, they shift into protective mode, potentially affecting mood, cognition, and behavior. As we prepare to explore the specific pathways, through which nutrients journey from your plate to your thoughts. Remember that this connection between food and brain represents one of the most fundamental relationships in biology. Every culture throughout history has recognized this connection in some form, whether in the careful selection of foods for students before examinations, the preparation of specific dishes for those who are grieving, or the understanding that certain foods can lift the spirit while others can cloud the mind. The modern science of nutritional neuroscience simply gives us new language and deeper understanding for what human beings have always known in their bodies, that what we eat shapes not just our physical health, but our mental clarity, our emotional balance, and our capacity for joy, learning, and peaceful presence in the world. Let us follow with gentle curiosity the remarkable journey of a single meal as it transforms from the food on your plate into the thoughts in your mind. This voyage, which unfolds over hours and days, represents one of nature's most elegant examples of transformation, the quiet alchemy, by which the physical world becomes the substrate of consciousness. Imagine you're sitting down to a simple, nourishing meal. Perhaps it's a bowl of oatmeal topped with blueberries and walnuts, accompanied by a cup of green tea. Each component of this meal carries within it the potential to become part of your thoughts, your memories, your capacity for focus, and your sense of well-being. But first, it must undertake a journey through the landscapes of your body. The moment the first spoonful touches your tongue, the journey begins. Your taste buds, those remarkable sensory organs that crown your tongue like tiny mushrooms, detect the sweetness of the berries, the nuttiness of the walnuts, the gentle earthiness of the oats. But they are doing more than simply registering flavor. They are sending the first signals to your brain about what is coming, allowing your nervous system to prepare for the specific nutrients that will soon be flowing through your bloodstream. As you chew, enzymes in your saliva begin the first stage of carbohydrate digestion, breaking down the complex starches in the oats into simpler sugars. The mechanical action of chewing releases aromatic compounds from the walnuts and berries, sending additional information to your brain through your sense of smell. All of this sensory data helps your nervous system anticipate and prepare for the nutritional bounty that is about to arrive. When you swallow, the meal begins its descent through your esophagus, that muscular tube that carries food from mouth to stomach through gentle, wave-like contractions called peristalsis. Already, your stomach has been preparing. The sight and smell of food, even the act of chewing, has triggered the release of gastric acid and digestive enzymes. Your stomach walls have begun producing pepsin, the enzyme that will break down the proteins in the walnuts into their component amino acids. In the warm, acidic environment of your stomach, the meal undergoes its first major transformation. The berries release their antioxidants, those protective compounds that will eventually travel to your brain tissue to guard against oxidative stress. The oats begin to break down into glucose molecules, your brain's preferred fuel. The walnuts release their precious cargo of omega-3 fatty acids, along with protein that's being methodically dismantled into individual amino acids. This process unfolds slowly, peacefully, over the course of 1 to 3 hours. Your stomach muscles contract gently, mixing the meal with digestive juices, creating what physiologists call chyma soupy mixture that contains all the nutrients from your food in forms that can be absorbed and used by your body, gradually in small, measured doses. This nutrient-rich mixture passes through the pyloric sphincter into your small intestine. Here, in the quiet, folded landscape of your intestinal lining, the most crucial phase of the journey begins. This is where nutrients cross from the external world for even inside your digestive tract. Food is still technically outside your body into your internal circulation. The walls of your small intestine are lined with millions of tiny, finger-like projections called villi, which in turn are covered with even smaller projections called microvilli. This creates an enormous surface area roughly the size of a tennis court folded into the compact space of your abdomen. Each of these surfaces is equipped with specialized transport proteins, molecular machines that recognize specific nutrients and ferry them across the intestinal barrier into your bloodstream. The glucose from your oats passes through glucose transporters, entering your bloodstream where it will soon be available to fuel your brain's tireless activity. The amino acids from the walnut tryptophan, tyrosine, phenylalanine, and others cross through amino acid transporters, each type recognized by its own specific carrier protein. These amino acids will become the building blocks of neurotransmitters, those chemical messengers that carry signals between your brain cells. The omega-3 fatty acids from the walnuts take a different route. Fat-soluble nutrients must first be packaged into special structures, called chylomicrons, microscopic droplets that can carry fats through your water-based bloodstream. These chylomicrons enter your lymphatic system first, eventually joining your bloodstream through the thoracic duct near your heart. Meanwhile, the antioxidants from the blueberries' anthocyanins, flavonoids, and vitamin C follow their own specialized pathways across the intestinal barrier. Some are absorbed quickly in their original form, while others are modified by the bacteria in your gut, transformed into metabolites that may be even more bioactive than the original compounds. As these nutrients enter your bloodstream, they join the constant circulation that carries life and energy to every cell in your body. Your heart, beating roughly once per second, pumps this nutrient-rich blood through approximately 60,000 miles of blood vessels, ensuring that every tissue receives the nourishment it needs. For nutrients destined for your brain, the journey includes one more checkpoint: the blood-brain barrier. This remarkable structure, formed by the tight junctions between the cells lining your brain's blood vessels, acts as a selective filter, allowing beneficial nutrients to pass while blocking potentially harmful substances. Glucose passes through easily via specialized transporters. Your brain's immediate energy needs take priority. The amino acids from your walnuts wait their turn at specific amino acid transporters, each type crossing according to its own schedule and your brain's current needs. The omega-3 fatty acids, now released from their chylomicron packages, are actively transported across the barrier, where they'll be incorporated into neural cell membranes. The antioxidants from the blueberries face the most selective screening. Only certain types can cross the blood-brain barrier, but those that do, particularly compounds called anthocyanins, have been shown to accumulate in brain regions associated with memory and learning, where they provide protection against oxidative stress and inflammation. This entire journey, from the first bite to the arrival of nutrients in your brain tissue, typically takes between 30 minutes and several hours, depending on the specific nutrients and the complexity of your meal. But the story doesn't end with arrival, it begins there. Once in your brain, these nutrients become part of the ongoing biochemical symphony that creates your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, and your capacity for learning and growth. The glucose begins powering the billions of calculations your neurons perform each second. The amino acids are transformed into neurotransmitters: serotonin for mood regulation, dopamine for motivation and reward, GABA for calm focus. The omega-3 fatty acids are woven into cell membranes, affecting the fluidity and function of neural communication. The antioxidants begin their protective work, neutralizing free radicals and supporting the cellular maintenance systems that keep your neurons healthy. As we continue our gentle exploration of nutrition and the brain, remember that this journey we've followed from plate to neuron, from food to thought, is happening continuously in your body. Every meal you eat sets in motion this remarkable cascade of transformation, this peaceful but profound process by which the external world becomes part of your internal experience. The choices you make about what to eat ripple through this system for hours and days, influencing not just your physical energy, but your mental clarity, your emotional stability, and your capacity for learning and memory. Understanding this journey helps us appreciate not just the complexity of human biology, but the profound responsibility and opportunity we have with every meal to nourish not just our bodies but our minds. In the quiet spaces between your brain cells, a constant conversation unfolds in whispers, too soft to hear but too important to ignore. This dialogue is carried by remarkable molecules called neurotransmitters, chemical messengers, that float gently across the microscopic gaps between neurons, carrying information that shapes every aspect of your mental experience, from your deepest emotions to your sharpest thoughts. Tonight, we'll explore how the food you eat becomes the vocabulary of this neural conversation, providing the raw materials from which your brain crafts the chemical words that create your inner world. Each meal you consume carries within it the potential to influence the tone and content of the billions of messages flowing through your neural networks. Every moment of every day, To understand this process, let us first consider the remarkable architecture of neural communication. Each of your roughly 86 billion neurons reaches out to its neighbors through branching extensions called dendrites and axons, creating a network of connections so vast and intricate that it dwarfs any human-made communication system. Yet for all this complexity, the basic unit of neural communication is beautifully simple. One cell releases chemical messengers, and another cell receives and responds to them. The gap between neurons, called a synapse, is unimaginably small, about 20 nanometers wide, roughly 1/3000th the width of a human hair. Into this tiny space, neurons release neurotransmitters, molecules that drift like gentle boats across a molecular harbor, carrying their messages from one shore of consciousness to another. What makes this process so intimately connected to nutrition is that neurotransmitters are not manufactured from thin air. They are built from the components of the food you eat. The amino acids in your breakfast become the serotonin that influences your afternoon mood. The choline in your eggs transforms into the acetylcholine that supports your evening's learning. The tyrosine in your almonds becomes the dopamine that motivates your next creative project. Let us begin with serotonin, perhaps the most famous of the neurotransmitters. Often called the happiness molecule, though its functions extend far beyond simple mood regulation. Roughly 90% of your body's serotonin is actually produced in your digestive system, but the serotonin that affects your brain must be manufactured within the brain itself, since this neurotransmitter cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. The building block of serotonin is an amino acid called tryptophan, which you obtain from protein-rich foods like turkey, fish, eggs, cheese, and nuts. But here is where the story becomes beautifully complex. Tryptophan must compete with other amino acids to cross from your bloodstream into your brain. This competition is influenced by the carbohydrates you eat alongside protein. When you consume carbohydrates, your pancreas releases insulin, which causes most amino acids to be taken up by your muscles, but not tryptophan. This gives tryptophan preferential access to your brain, where it can be converted into serotonin. This is why a meal that combines protein with healthy carbohydrates like whole grain toast, with almond butter, or oatmeal with nuts can have such a profoundly calming and mood-stabilizing effect. Once tryptophan reaches your brain, it encounters the enzyme tryptophan hydroxylase, which begins the gentle transformation into serotonin. But this process requires additional nutrients to proceed smoothly. Vitamin B6, iron, and folate all play essential roles in serotonin synthesis. Without adequate levels of these nutrients, your brain struggles to produce sufficient serotonin, potentially affecting mood, sleep, appetite, and cognitive function. Serotonin influences far more than mood. It helps regulate your sleep-wake cycles, working with your brain's internal clock to promote restful sleep and alert wakefulness. It affects your appetite and satiety signals, helping you recognize when you've eaten enough. It influences memory formation and learning, particularly emotional memories. It even affects digestion and immune function, demonstrating the profound interconnectedness of mental and physical health. Dopamine, another crucial neurotransmitter, begins its journey as the amino acid tyrosine, found abundantly in protein-rich foods like fish, chicken, dairy products, and legumes. Tyrosine can also be made in your body from another amino acid, phenylalanine, found in foods like almonds, avocados, and bananas. The conversion of tyrosine to dopamine requires several nutrients. Iron, folate, and vitamin B6 again play crucial roles, along with vitamin C and tetrahydrobiopterin, a compound your body can make if it has adequate folate. Dopamine is often misunderstood as simply the reward or pleasure neurotransmitter, but its functions are far more sophisticated. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter of motivation and goal-directed behavior. It helps you focus attention on important tasks, maintains working memory, and provides the neural drive to pursue long-term goals. It is involved in motor control. The loss of dopamine-producing neurons leads to the movement difficulties seen in Parkinson's disease. The release of dopamine is influenced not just by the availability of tyrosine, but by the overall balance of amino acids in your bloodstream. A meal high in protein provides ample tyrosine, but it also provides many competing amino acids. Interestingly, some research suggests that moderate amounts of protein, combined with healthy fats and complex carbohydrates, may optimize dopamine production better than very high-protein meals alone. GABA gamma-aminobutyric acid represents the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, the gentle voice that says slow down and relax, amidst the constant chatter of neural activity. Unlike serotonin and dopamine, GABA is not made from amino acids obtained directly from food, but rather from glutamate, an amino acid that your brain produces from glucose and other nutrients. The production of GABA requires vitamin B6 and an enzyme called glutamic acid decarboxylase. Magnesium, a mineral found in leafy greens, nuts, and whole grains, plays a crucial role in GABA function, helping this neurotransmitter bind effectively to its receptors. Zinc, found in pumpkin seeds, oysters, and beef, also supports GABA activity. This is why foods rich in these minerals often have calming, anxiety-reducing effects. Some foods contain compounds that can directly support GABA function. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, and certain teas contain GABA itself, though it's unclear how much crosses the blood-brain barrier. Green tea contains L-theanine, an amino acid that promotes GABA activity and creates the calm alertness, for which green tea is famous. Acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter of learning and memory, is synthesized from choline, a nutrient found in eggs, fish, and certain vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Choline can cross the blood-brain barrier relatively easily, making dietary intake particularly important for acetylcholine production. The synthesis also requires acetyl-CoA, a molecule derived from glucose metabolism, connecting acetylcholine production to overall energy metabolism in the brain. Acetylcholine is crucial for attention, learning, and memory formation. It's the neurotransmitter that helps you focus on a lecture, remember where you put your keys, and form new memories during sleep. The cholinergic system is one of the first affected in Alzheimer's disease, which is why maintaining adequate choline intake throughout life may be important for cognitive health as we age. The balance between these neurotransmitters is as important as the individual levels of each. Serotonin and dopamine often work in complementary ways, serotonin providing emotional stability and contentment, dopamine providing motivation and drive. GABA provides the necessary calm for focused attention, while acetylcholine sharpens that focus into learning and memory. This balance can be influenced by the timing and composition of your meals. A breakfast rich in protein provides amino acids for dopamine synthesis, supporting morning alertness and motivation. A lunch that combines protein with complex carbohydrates can optimize serotonin production. For afternoon emotional stability, an evening meal rich in magnesium and B vitamins can support GABA function for restful sleep. The remarkable thing about this system is its responsiveness to nutritional changes. Unlike some aspects of brain function that change slowly over time, neurotransmitter production responds relatively quickly to nutritional inputs. A meal rich in the right nutrients can begin influencing neurotransmitter production within hours, which is why you might notice changes in mood, energy, or focus relatively soon after eating certain foods. However, this system also demonstrates the importance of consistent, balanced nutrition over time. While individual meals can have immediate effects, the overall health of your neurotransmitter systems depends on long-term nutritional patterns. Chronic deficiencies in key nutrients can lead to persistent imbalances in neurotransmitter production, potentially affecting mood, cognition, and behavior over weeks, months, or years. As we continue our exploration of how food affects your brain, remember that every meal represents an opportunity to nourish these chemical messengers that carry the conversation of consciousness. The proteins you choose, the carbohydrates you include, the vitamins and minerals you consume, all become part of the molecular vocabulary through which your neurons speak to each other, creating the rich inner world of thoughts, emotions, and experiences that make you uniquely you. In the gentle, constant rhythm of your heartbeat, glucose flows through your bloodstream like a river of energy, carrying life and vitality to every cell in your body. But nowhere is this precious fuel more critical than in the soft, folded tissue of your brain, where glucose serves as the primary currency of consciousness, powering the billions of calculations that create your thoughts, emotions, and memories. Tonight, let us explore this fundamental relationship between blood sugar and brain function, understanding how the carbohydrates you consume become the energy that lights up your neural networks, and how the timing and type of these carbohydrates can profoundly influence your cognitive abilities, emotional stability, and overall mental well-being. Your brain, despite representing only about 2% of your body weight, consumes roughly 20% of all the glucose your body uses each day. This remarkable hunger for fuel reflects the extraordinary energy demands of neural tissue. Every thought, every memory, every moment of awareness requires energy in the form of ATP adenosine triphosphate, the molecular battery that powers cellular work, and the primary source of this ATP, particularly in brain tissue, is glucose, unlike muscle cells, which can burn fats and proteins for energy when glucose is scarce. Your brain cells are almost entirely dependent on glucose under normal circumstances, while your brain can adapt to use ketones molecules produced when your body breaks down fats. During periods of starvation or very low carbohydrate intake, glucose remains the preferred and most efficient fuel for optimal brain function. This dependence on glucose creates an intimate connection between what you eat and how clearly you think. When you consume carbohydrates, whether from an apple, a slice of bread, or a bowl of rice, your digestive system breaks them down into glucose molecules that enter your bloodstream. Your pancreas responds by releasing insulin, a hormone that helps cells throughout your body absorb and use this glucose for energy. Your brain tissue is somewhat unique in that it doesn't require insulin for glucose uptake. Brain cells can absorb glucose directly from your bloodstream through specialized glucose transporters, ensuring that your neural tissue has priority access to this crucial fuel. However, this doesn't mean that insulin has no effect on brain function. Indeed, insulin itself acts as a neurotransmitter in certain brain regions, influencing memory formation, appetite regulation, and mood. The key to understanding how carbohydrates affect your brain lies in recognizing the difference between the rapid spikes and crashes of blood sugar that come from simple carbohydrates and the gentle, sustained energy release provided by complex carbohydrates. This difference can mean the contrast between mental clarity and brain fog, between sustained focus and attention problems, between emotional stability and mood swings. When you consume simple sugars found in candy, soft drinks, white bread, or other highly processed foods, they are rapidly absorbed into your bloodstream, causing a quick spike in blood glucose levels. Your brain, suddenly flooded with fuel, may experience a temporary boost in energy and alertness. However, this spike triggers a strong insulin response, which quickly drives blood sugar levels down, sometimes to levels even lower than before you ate. This rapid rise and fall of blood glucose creates what many people experience as a sugar crash, a period of mental fatigue, difficulty concentrating, irritability, and sometimes anxiety or mood changes. During these low blood sugar periods, your brain is literally running on insufficient fuel, affecting everything from your ability to focus on a conversation to your patience with daily challenges. The cognitive effects of blood sugar fluctuations are particularly noticeable in tasks that require sustained attention, working memory, and executive function. Studies have shown that people experiencing mild hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, perform poorly on tests of attention and memory and report feelings of confusion, fatigue, and emotional reactivity. Complex carbohydrates found in foods like oats, quinoa, sweet potatoes, and legumes create a very different metabolic experience. These foods contain longer chains of glucose molecules that must be broken down more gradually during digestion. They also often contain fiber, protein, and other nutrients that further slow the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream. The result is a gentle, sustained rise in blood glucose levels that provides your brain with steady fuel over several hours. This steady energy supply supports consistent cognitive function, stable mood, and sustained attention. People who eat breakfasts rich in complex carbohydrates often report better concentration and more stable energy throughout the morning compared to those who eat simple sugars or skip breakfast entirely. The timing of carbohydrate consumption also affects brain function in interesting ways. Your brain's glucose needs vary throughout the day and night, influenced by your circadian rhythms, your activity level, and your sleep-wake cycles. During periods of intense mental work, studying for an exam, working on a complex project, engaging in deep concentration, your brain's glucose consumption can increase significantly. Some research suggests that consuming small amounts of glucose during demanding cognitive tasks can temporarily enhance performance, particularly on tasks requiring sustained attention or working memory. However, this effect is most pronounced when blood glucose levels are slightly low to begin with, and the glucose is consumed in small amounts that don't trigger large insulin responses. The relationship between glucose and memory is particularly fascinating. Your hippocampus, the brain region most crucial for forming new memories, is especially sensitive to glucose levels. Mild declines in blood glucose can impair memory formation, while adequate glucose availability supports the energy-intensive process of consolidating experiences into long-term memories. This glucose-memory connection may be one reason why many students intuitively reach for snacks during long study sessions, and why maintaining stable blood sugar levels can be so important for learning and academic performance. However, the key is choosing carbohydrates that provide sustained energy rather than quick spikes and crashes. Sleep also plays a crucial role in this glucose-brain relationship. During sleep, your brain's glucose consumption decreases, but it doesn't stop entirely. Your neural tissue continues to perform essential maintenance functions, including the consolidation of memories and the clearance of metabolic waste products. Having adequate, stable glucose levels during sleep supports these crucial processes. Chronic blood sugar instability, whether from diabetes, prediabetes, or simply from poor dietary choices, can have long-term effects on brain health. Persistently high glucose levels can damage blood vessels in the brain, potentially affecting cognitive function over time. Frequent episodes of low blood sugar can be stressful to brain tissue and may affect memory and learning abilities. The good news is that the brain's glucose metabolism is responsive to dietary changes. Shifting from a diet high in simple sugars to one rich in complex carbohydrates can relatively quickly improve the stability of your blood glucose levels and, consequently, your cognitive function and mood stability. Interestingly, the brain's relationship with glucose is also influenced by other nutrients. B vitamins, particularly B1 thiamine, are essential for glucose metabolism within brain cells. Magnesium helps regulate insulin sensitivity, affecting how efficiently your cells can use glucose. Chromium, found in foods like broccoli and whole grains, also supports healthy glucose metabolism. Physical exercise plays a beneficial role in this system as well. Regular physical activity improves your body's sensitivity to insulin, helping maintain more stable blood glucose levels. Exercise also increases glucose uptake by brain tissue and promotes the growth of new blood vessels in the brain, improving the delivery of glucose and other nutrients to neural tissue. As we continue our gentle exploration of nutrition and brain health, remember that every carbohydrate choice you make, from your morning breakfast to your evening snack, influences the fuel available to your brain. Choosing complex carbohydrates that provide sustained energy, timing your meals to maintain stable blood sugar levels, and including other nutrients that support glucose metabolism can profoundly affect your cognitive function, emotional well-being, and overall brain health. The goal is not to maintain perfectly constant blood glucose levels. Natural fluctuations are normal and healthy. Rather, the aim is to avoid the extreme spikes and crashes that can disrupt cognitive function and emotional stability, while ensuring that your brain has the steady supply of fuel it needs to support your thoughts, learning, creativity, and peaceful presence in the world. In the microscopic architecture of your brain, where thoughts are born and memories are woven into the fabric of consciousness, the very membranes that surround your neurons are built from fats. Not just any fats, but specific, precious molecules called omega-3 fatty acids that you must obtain from the foods you eat. These essential fats become the structural foundation of your neural networks, influencing everything from the speed of your thoughts to the depth of your emotions. Tonight, let us drift gently through the fascinating world of omega-3 fatty acids and their profound influence on brain function, exploring how these remarkable molecules journey from the foods on your plate to become integral components of your brain tissue, shaping your cognitive abilities and emotional well-being in ways both subtle and profound. To understand the importance of omega-3 fatty acids for brain function, we must first appreciate the unique structure and needs of neural tissue. Your brain is nearly 60% fat by dry weight, making it the fattiest organ in your body. This high-fat content is not simply stored energy, it's structural fat, forming the membranes that surround every neuron and creating the insulation around nerve fibers that allows rapid electrical communication. The cell membranes in your brain are not rigid barriers, but dynamic, fluid structures that must maintain just the right consistency to function properly. To rigid and important proteins and channels cannot work effectively. To fluid, and the membrane loses its structural integrity. The types of fats incorporated into these membranes directly influence their fluidity and function, which is why the omega-3 fatty acids you consume can have such profound effects on brain performance. The most important omega-3 fatty acid for brain health is DHA-docosahexaenoic acid, a long-chain fatty acid that makes up about 15 to 20% of your brain's total fat content. DHA is particularly concentrated in the areas of your brain responsible for memory, learning, and emotional processing. Your retina, the light-sensitive tissue in your eyes, is also extraordinarily rich in DHA, which helps explain why omega-3 fatty acids are important for both brain function and vision. Your body cannot manufacture DHA efficiently from scratch, making it what nutritionists call an essential fatty acid, one that must be obtained from food or supplements. The richest dietary sources of DHA are fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and anchovies. Algae-based supplements provide a vegetarian source of DHA, since fish obtain their omega-3 fatty acids by eating algae and smaller fish that have consumed algae. EPA-eicosapentaenoic acid is another crucial omega-3 fatty acid, though it's less abundant in brain tissue than DHA. EPA plays important roles in reducing inflammation throughout the body, including in the brain, and serves as a precursor to various signaling molecules that influence mood and cognitive function. A third omega-3 fatty acid, alpha-linolenic acid, is found in plant foods like flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, and hemp seeds, while your body can convert small amounts of ALA into DHA and EPA. This conversion is quite inefficient, typically less than 5% for DHA. This is why many nutrition scientists recommend obtaining DHA and EPA directly from marine sources or algae-based supplements, particularly for optimal brain health. When you consume omega-3 fatty acids, they begin a remarkable journey through your body. After digestion and absorption in your small intestine, they are packaged into lipoproteins and circulated through your bloodstream. Some are taken up by other tissues for energy or structural purposes, but a significant portion travels to your brain, where they cross the blood-brain barrier and are incorporated into neural membranes. This incorporation process happens gradually, over days and weeks, as your brain cells naturally renew their membranes through ongoing metabolism. The fatty acids available in your bloodstream become part of the new membrane structure. This means that the omega-3 fatty acids you eat today won't immediately change your brain function, but over time, consistent intake leads to meaningful changes in the composition and properties of your neural membranes. Research has shown that people with higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids in their brain tissue tend to have better cognitive function, including improved memory, faster processing speed, and greater mental flexibility. Brain imaging studies have found that individuals with higher omega-3 levels have larger brain volumes in areas associated with mood regulation and cognitive function, and they show less age-related brain shrinkage. The mechanisms behind these benefits are multifaceted and elegant. DHA influences the function of membrane-bound proteins that are crucial for neural communication, including ion channels, neurotransmitter receptors, and enzymes involved in signal transduction. The fluidity provided by DHA allows these proteins to change shape and function more effectively, potentially improving the efficiency of neural transmission. Omega-3 fatty acids also influence the production and function of neurotransmitters. DHA can affect serotonin and dopamine signaling, potentially influencing mood and motivation. Some research suggests that omega-3 fatty acids may help maintain optimal levels of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor protein that promotes the growth and survival of neurons and supports the formation of new synaptic connections. The anti-inflammatory properties of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA, may be especially important for long-term brain health. Chronic inflammation in the brain, often called neuroinflammation, is increasingly recognized as a factor in cognitive decline, depression, and neurodegenerative diseases. Omega-3 fatty acids help resolve inflammation by serving as precursors to specialized molecules called resolvins and protectins, which actively promote the resolution of inflammatory processes. During pregnancy and early childhood, omega-3 fatty acids are particularly crucial for brain development. The rapid growth of neural tissue during fetal development and the first years of life creates an enormous demand for DHA. Pregnant women with adequate omega-3 intake tend to have children with better cognitive outcomes, including improved attention, memory, and problem-solving abilities. The developing brain's need for omega-3 fatty acids continues through adolescence, as the brain undergoes significant structural changes and the prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and decision-making, continues to mature. Adequate omega-3 intake during these developmental periods may support optimal cognitive development and emotional regulation. As we age, omega-3 fatty acids may help protect against cognitive decline and support healthy brain aging. Some studies suggest that people with higher omega-3 levels are less likely to develop dementia, experience less cognitive decline over time, and maintain better brain structure as measured by neuroimaging techniques. The relationship between omega-3 fatty acids and mood is particularly intriguing. Several studies have found that people with depression tend to have lower levels of omega-3 fatty acids in their blood and brain tissue. Some clinical trials have shown that omega-3 supplementation can help reduce symptoms of depression, particularly when used alongside other treatments. The mood benefits of omega-3 fatty acids may be related to their effects on neurotransmitter function, their anti-inflammatory properties, and their influence on the stress response system. DHA and EPA can affect the production and signaling of serotonin and dopamine, neurotransmitters that play key roles in mood regulation. The anti-inflammatory effects may help reduce neuroinflammation that can contribute to depression and anxiety. However, it is important to understand that omega-3 fatty acids work best as part of a balanced approach to nutrition and brain health. They are not magic bullets that can overcome the effects of an otherwise poor diet or unhealthy lifestyle. Rather, they represent one crucial component of the nutritional foundation that supports optimal brain function. The balance between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids is also important to consider. Omega-6 fatty acids, found in many vegetable oils and processed foods, are also essential for health but can promote inflammation when consumed in excess relative to omega-3 south. The typical Western diet tends to be very high in omega-6 fatty acids and relatively low in omega-3 south, creating a pro-inflammatory balance that may not be optimal for brain health. Improving your omega-3 status doesn't necessarily require dramatic dietary changes. Including fatty fish in your diet twice a week can significantly increase your omega-3 intake. Adding walnuts, chia seeds, or ground flax seeds to meals provides ALA. For those who don't eat fish, algae-based DHA supplements offer a direct source of this crucial fatty acid. The quality and freshness of omega-3 sources matters as well. These fatty acids are highly susceptible to oxidation, which can create harmful compounds. Fresh, high-quality fish, properly stored nuts and seeds, and supplements that have been processed and stored to prevent oxidation provide the most benefit, while minimizing potential risks. As we continue our exploration of how nutrition affects brain function, Remember that omega-3 fatty acids represent a beautiful example of how the molecular components of our food become integrated into the very structure of our thoughts. The DHA molecule that strengthens your neural membranes today may have begun its journey in the ocean depths, being concentrated in the tissues of a salmon, and traveled through your digestive system to become part of the neural pathways that allow you to form new memories, experience emotions, and engage creatively with the world around you. This intimate connection between the foods we eat and the structure of our brains reminds us that nutrition is not just about fueling our bodies. It is about providing the molecular building blocks from which our consciousness itself is constructed, one meal, one choice, one omega-3 fatty acid at a time. In the bustling metropolis of your brain, where billions of neurons work tirelessly around the clock, generating the electrical and chemical activity that creates your thoughts and experiences, there exists a constant, gentle battle between the forces of creation and destruction, the very processes that generate consciousness also produce molecular byproducts that, if left unchecked, could damage the delicate structures of neural tissue. Fortunately, nature has provided an elegant defense system in the form of antioxidants, protective molecules, found abundantly in colorful foods that act as guardians of your cognitive health. Tonight, let us explore the fascinating world of dietary antioxidants and their crucial role in protecting and preserving your brain function, understanding how the vibrant pigments that give fruits and vegetables their beautiful colors become powerful protectors of your neural networks, supporting not just your current cognitive abilities but your brain's long-term health and resilience. To appreciate the importance of antioxidants for brain health, we must first understand the nature of the challenge they address. Your brain, despite representing only a small fraction of your body weight, consumes about 20% of the oxygen you breathe. This high oxygen consumption is necessary to fuel the intense metabolic activity that creates consciousness, but it also makes brain tissue particularly vulnerable to oxidative stress. Oxidative stress occurs when reactive oxygen species commonly called free radicals are produced faster than your body's natural defense systems can neutralize them. These free radicals are highly reactive molecules that can damage cellular structures, including the lipids in cell membranes, proteins that carry out cellular functions, and even DNA itself. In the brain, such damage can affect neural communication, impair memory formation, and contribute to cognitive decline over time. The production of free radicals in brain tissue is a natural consequence of normal metabolism. When your neurons burn glucose for energy, they inevitably produce some reactive oxygen species as byproducts. Stress, inflammation, exposure to toxins, and even normal aging processes can increase free radical production, while your brain has its own internal antioxidant systems, including enzymes like superoxide dismutase and catalase. These defenses can be overwhelmed without adequate support from dietary antioxidants. Antioxidants work by donating electrons to free radicals, neutralizing their reactivity and preventing them from causing cellular damage. Different antioxidants work through slightly different mechanisms and protect against different types of free radicals, which is why consuming a variety of antioxidant-rich foods provides more comprehensive protection than relying on any single compound. The most well-known dietary antioxidants include vitamin C, vitamin E, and beta-carotene. But the antioxidant world extends far beyond these nutrients to include thousands of plant compounds called phytochemicals. These molecules, which give fruits and vegetables their distinctive colors, flavors, and aromas, often possess powerful antioxidant properties that can specifically benefit brain health. Anthocyanins, the deep blue and purple pigments found in blueberries, blackberries, and red grapes, have shown particularly impressive abilities to cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in brain regions associated with memory and learning. Studies have found that people who regularly consume anthocyanin-rich foods show better memory performance and may experience slower age-related cognitive decline. The mechanisms behind anthocyanin's brain protective effects extend beyond simple antioxidant activity. These compounds can influence gene expression in brain tissue, promoting the production of proteins that support neural health and protect against inflammation. They may also enhance communication between neurons and support the growth of new neural connections, a process called neuroplasticity that is crucial for learning and memory throughout life. Flavonoids, a large family of antioxidant compounds found in foods like green tea, dark chocolate, citrus fruits, and onions, offer another layer of brain protection. The flavonoid quercetin, abundant in apples and onions, has been shown to reduce inflammation in brain tissue and may help protect against neurodegenerative changes. The catechins in green tea, particularly EGCG epigallocogene gallate, can cross the blood-brain barrier and provide direct protection to neurons, while also supporting healthy blood flow to brain tissue. Resveratrol, found in red grapes, red wine, and peanuts, has gained attention for its potential to activate cellular pathways associated with longevity and stress resistance. While much of the research on resveratrol has been conducted in laboratory settings, some studies suggest it may help protect brain cells from damage and support cognitive function, particularly as we age. Curcumin, the bright yellow compound that gives turmeric its distinctive color, represents one of the most thoroughly studied food-based antioxidants for brain health. This remarkable molecule can cross the blood-brain barrier and has been shown to reduce inflammation, clear amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease, and support the growth of new brain cells. The traditional use of turmeric in Indian cuisine may contribute to the lower rates of Alzheimer's disease observed in some populations with high turmeric consumption. Vitamin C, perhaps the most familiar antioxidant, plays crucial roles in brain function beyond its antioxidant properties. This water-soluble vitamin is highly concentrated in brain tissue, where it supports the synthesis of neurotransmitters, particularly norepinephrine and serotonin. Vitamin C also helps regenerate other antioxidants like vitamin E, creating a cooperative network of protection. Excellent food sources include citrus fruits, berries, kiwi fruit, bell peppers, and leafy greens. Vitamin E, a fat-soluble antioxidant particularly important for protecting cell membranes, is crucial for maintaining the integrity of neural tissue. The brain's high fat content makes it especially vulnerable to lipid peroxidation, the oxidative damage of fats which vitamin E helps prevent. Nuts, seeds, and vegetable oils are rich sources of vitamin E, with almonds, sunflower seeds, and wheat germ being particularly good sources. Selenium, a trace mineral with antioxidant properties, supports the function of several antioxidant enzymes in the brain. Brazil nuts are an exceptionally rich source of selenium. Just 1 or 2 nuts provide the daily requirement. Other sources include fish, poultry, and grains grown in selenium-rich soil. The carotenoids including beta-carotene, lutein, and zeaxanthin provide antioxidant protection while also supporting healthy vision. These fat-soluble compounds are found in colorful vegetables like carrots, sweet potatoes, spinach, and kale. Lutein and zeaxanthin are particularly concentrated in the macula of the eye and may also accumulate in brain tissue where they could provide protective benefits. What makes the antioxidant story particularly beautiful is how these protective compounds work synergistically. Rather than functioning in isolation, dietary antioxidants often work together, regenerating each other and providing complementary protection against different types of oxidative stress. Vitamin C can regenerate vitamin E, while vitamin E protects the omega-3 fatty acids in cell membranes from oxidation. This synergistic relationship helps explain why whole foods tend to provide better antioxidant protection than isolated supplements. The timing and method of food preparation can also influence the antioxidant content of your meals. Many antioxidants are heat sensitive, so raw or lightly cooked fruits and vegetables often retain more of their protective compounds than heavily processed foods. However, some antioxidants, like lycopene in tomatoes, actually become more bioavailable when the food is cooked and consumed with a little fat. The concept of auric oxygen radical absorbance capacity was developed to measure the antioxidant capacity of different foods. While ORAC values can provide a general guide to antioxidant content, it is important to remember that the biological effects of antioxidants in your body depend on factors like absorption, metabolism, and tissue distribution, not just their ability to neutralize free radicals in a test. 2. Interestingly, exercise, while beneficial for brain health in many ways, actually increases free radical production in the short term. However, regular exercise also upregulates your body's internal antioxidant systems, making them more efficient over time. This represents another example of how antioxidant-rich foods work best, as part of an overall healthy lifestyle rather than as isolated interventions. The relationship between dietary antioxidants and cognitive aging is an area of active research. While we can't yet say definitively that consuming more antioxidants will prevent cognitive decline or dementia, observational studies consistently show associations between higher antioxidant intake and better cognitive performance, particularly in older adults. The Mediterranean diet, which is rich in antioxidant-containing foods like olive oil, nuts, fish, and colorful vegetables, has been associated with better cognitive health and reduced risk of cognitive decline. As we age, our body's internal antioxidant systems may become less efficient, making dietary antioxidants increasingly important for protecting brain health. The accumulation of oxidative damage over decades may contribute to age-related cognitive changes, making lifelong attention to antioxidant intake a wise investment in long-term brain health. For children and adolescents, adequate antioxidant intake may support optimal brain development and help establish healthy eating patterns that will benefit cognitive health throughout life. The developing brain's high metabolic activity creates significant oxidative stress, making antioxidant protection particularly important during periods of rapid neural growth and development. As we continue our gentle journey through the relationship between nutrition and brain health, remember that every colorful fruit or vegetable you consume brings with it a constellation of protective compounds, each working in its own subtle way to guard the precious neural networks that create your thoughts, memories, and experiences. The deep purple of blueberries, the vibrant orange of sweet potatoes, the rich green of spinach, these colors represent nature's pharmacy, offering gentle but powerful protection for your most vital organ. The goal is not to obsess over individual antioxidants or to seek out exotic superfoods, but rather to embrace the simple wisdom of eating a rainbow of colorful, minimally processed plant foods as part of a balanced diet. In doing so, you provide your brain with a diverse army of molecular guardians, each standing ready to protect your neural tissue from the oxidative challenges of modern life, while supporting the ongoing miracle of consciousness itself. Deep within your abdomen, nestled among the curves and folds of your intestinal tract, lies what scientists have begun to call your second brain, a complex network of neurons, neurotransmitters, and signaling molecules that communicates constantly with the brain in your head, influencing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in ways both subtle and profound. This intimate connection between gut and brain, known as the gut-brain axis, represents one of the most fascinating frontiers in our understanding of how nutrition affects mental health and cognitive function. Tonight, let us explore this remarkable communication highway that connects your digestive system to your conscious mind, understanding how the trillions of bacteria that call your intestines home can influence your mood, your memory, and your overall mental well-being through the foods that nourish them and the molecules they produce in return. The enteric nervous system, the formal name for your gut's neural network, contains over 500 million neurons, more than the spinal cord and more than the entire nervous system of many animals. These neurons are embedded in the walls of your digestive tract, from your esophagus to your rectum, forming two main layers that coordinate the complex processes of digestion, absorption, and immune function. While this gut-brain can function independently of your central nervous system, continuing to coordinate digestion even when connections to the brain are severed, it maintains constant communication with your head-brain through multiple pathways. The vagus nerve, that wandering highway of neural communication, carries signals in both directions between gut and brain. Hormones produced in the gut travel through your bloodstream to influence brain function. And perhaps most remarkably, the bacteria living in your intestines produce neurotransmitters and other signaling molecules that can affect your mental state. To understand how this system influences your thoughts and emotions, we must first appreciate the remarkable ecosystem that exists within your digestive tract. Your gut microbiome, the community of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and other microorganisms that inhabit your intestines contains roughly 100 trillion individual organisms, outnumbering your human cells by about 10 to 1. These microscopic residents are not passive passengers but active participants in your physiology, influencing everything from immune function to mood regulation. The composition of your gut microbiome is largely determined by what you eat. Different foods feed different types of bacteria, creating distinct microbial communities that can have profoundly different effects on your health and mental well-being. A diet rich in diverse plant foods tends to promote a diverse, healthy microbiome, while a diet high in processed foods and low in fiber can lead to reduced microbial diversity and potentially harmful changes in gut bacteria populations. The connection between gut bacteria and brain function became clear through studies of germ-free mice laboratory animals raised in completely sterile conditions without any gut bacteria. These mice show significant differences in brain development, behavior, and stress responses compared to normal mice. They tend to be more anxious, show altered social behaviors, and have different levels of neurotransmitters in their brain tissue. When these germ-free mice are given normal gut bacteria, many of these behavioral differences can be reversed, demonstrating the profound influence of the microbiome on brain function. One of the most direct ways gut bacteria influence brain function is through the production of neurotransmitters. Many of the chemical messengers we associate with brain function are actually produced in significant quantities by gut bacteria. Certain strains of lactobacillus, commonly found in yogurt and fermented foods, produce GABA, the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. Other bacteria produce serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine neurotransmitters crucial for mood, motivation, and cognitive function. While these gut-produced neurotransmitters cannot directly cross the blood-brain barrier to affect brain function, they influence the gut-brain communication system in several ways. They can affect the vagus nerve, sending signals to the brain about the state of the gut environment. They can influence the production of hormones and other signaling molecules that do reach the brain. And they can affect local immune function in the gut, which in turn influences systemic inflammation and brain health. The bacteria in your gut also produce short-chain fatty acids SCFA letters when they ferment the fiber from plant foods you consume. These molecules, including butyrate, propionate, and acetate, serve multiple functions in gut health, but they also have important effects on brain function. Butyrate, in particular, can cross the blood-brain barrier and has been shown to have neuroprotective effects, supporting the health of brain cells and potentially improving cognitive function. SCFA letters also help maintain the integrity of the intestinal barrier, the selective filter that controls what passes from your gut into your bloodstream. When this barrier becomes leaky, allowing inflammatory compounds to enter your circulation, it can trigger systemic inflammation that affects brain function, potentially contributing to mood disorders, cognitive problems, and neurological conditions. The gut microbiome also plays a crucial role in producing and metabolizing various vitamins that are important for brain health. Certain gut bacteria synthesize B vitamins, including folate, biotin, and vitamin B12, which are essential for neurotransmitter production and neural function. Other bacteria help convert dietary compounds into bioactive metabolites that can influence brain health. Fermented foods have been consumed by humans for thousands of years, and many traditional cultures have recognized their benefits for both digestive and mental health. Modern research is now revealing the scientific basis for these traditional observations. Foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, and kombucha contain live bacteria that can temporarily colonize your gut, potentially influencing your microbiome composition and gut-brain communication. Studies have found that people who regularly consume fermented foods tend to have more diverse gut microbiomes and report better mood and lower levels of anxiety and depression. While these are observational studies that cannot prove cause and effect, controlled trials have begun to show that certain probiotic supplements containing specific strains of beneficial bacteria can indeed improve mood and cognitive function in some people. The effects of probiotics on mental health appear to be strain-specific, meaning that different types of bacteria have different effects. Some strains have been shown to reduce anxiety and improve stress resilience, while others may help with depression or cognitive performance. This specificity suggests that the gut-brain axis is not a simple system, but rather a complex network of interactions that we are only beginning to understand. Prebiotics, the fiber-rich foods that feed beneficial gut bacteria, may be equally important for supporting gut-brain health. When you eat foods rich in prebiotic fibers, such as garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas, and whole grains, you're providing nourishment for beneficial bacteria in your gut, helping them thrive and produce compounds that support both gut and brain health. The relationship between gut health and mental health appears to be bidirectional. Just as gut bacteria can influence brain function, stress and emotions can affect gut health. Chronic stress can alter the composition of the gut microbiome, reduce the production of beneficial compounds like SCFA letters, and increase intestinal permeability. This creates a potential cycle where stress affects gut health, which in turn affects brain function and stress resilience. This bidirectional relationship helps explain why digestive problems and mental health issues often occur together. People with irritable bowel syndrome (IBS) have higher rates of anxiety and depression, while people with mood disorders often experience digestive symptoms. Understanding the gut-brain axis provides new perspectives on these connections and suggests that supporting gut health may be an important component of mental health care. The developing gut-brain axis appears to be particularly important during infancy and early childhood. The establishment of a healthy gut microbiome during these critical periods may influence long-term brain development and mental health. Factors that affect early microbiome development including birth method, breastfeeding, antibiotic use, and early nutrition may have lasting effects on gut-brain communication and mental health. Throughout life, diet diversity appears to be particularly important for maintaining a healthy gut-brain axis. People who eat a wide variety of plant foods tend to have more diverse gut microbiomes, which is associated with better gut health and more stable gut-brain communication. The modern Western diet, which tends to be low in diversity and high in processed foods, may contribute to reduced microbiome diversity and altered gut-brain signaling. Interestingly, the gut-brain axis may also influence food preferences and eating behaviors. Some research suggests that gut bacteria can influence cravings for the types of foods that feed them, potentially creating feedback loops that either support or undermine healthy eating patterns. Bacteria that thrive on sugar and processed foods may send signals that increase cravings for these foods, while bacteria that prefer fiber-rich plants may promote cravings for healthier options. The timing of meals may also affect gut-brain communication. Your gut microbiome shows circadian rhythms, with bacterial populations and their activities changing throughout the day. Eating at irregular times or eating late at night may disrupt these rhythms, potentially affecting both digestive health and sleep quality through altered gut-brain signaling. As research into the gut-brain axis continues to evolve, it's becoming clear that supporting gut health through nutrition is an important component of brain health. This doesn't require dramatic dietary changes or expensive supplements. Simple practices like eating a variety of plant foods, including fermented foods in your diet, limiting processed foods, and paying attention to how different foods make you feel, can all support healthy gut-brain communication. The gut-brain axis also highlights the importance of considering mental health from a whole-body perspective, rather than viewing the brain as an isolated organ. Understanding gut-brain communication reminds us that mental health is influenced by the health of multiple body systems, and that nutrition affects brain function through multiple pathways simultaneously. As we continue our exploration of how food affects your brain, remember that every meal you eat feeds not just your human cells, but also the trillions of bacterial partners that share your body. These microscopic allies work tirelessly in the darkness of your digestive tract, transforming the foods you consume into signals that can influence your mood, your stress resilience, and your cognitive clarity. By choosing foods that nourish beneficial bacteria and support healthy gut-brain communication, you're investing in both your digestive health and your mental well-being, supporting the remarkable partnership between gut and brain that helps create the fullness of your human experience. In the gentle ebb and flow of human emotion where joy and sorrow, calm and anxiety, hope and despair dance their eternal dance across the landscape of consciousness, there exists a profound, but often overlooked influence, the foods that nourish our bodies and, in turn, shape the very chemistry of our feelings. Tonight, let us explore the fascinating relationship between nutrition and mood, understanding how the meals we choose can become gentle architects of our emotional experience, supporting us through life's challenges and enhancing our capacity for contentment, resilience, and joy. The connection between food and mood has been recognized throughout human history. Ancient physicians prescribed specific foods for melancholy. Traditional healers prepared nourishing broths for the grief-stricken, and grandmothers worldwide have intuited that certain foods possess the power to comfort, console, and restore emotional equilibrium. Modern neuroscience is now revealing the biochemical basis for these age-old observations, showing us how nutrients influence the production and function of neurotransmitters that regulate our emotional states. To understand how food affects mood, we must first appreciate that emotions are, at their biological foundation, patterns of brain chemistry. The feelings of happiness, sadness, anxiety, or calm that color our daily experience arise from complex interactions between neurotransmitters, hormones, and neural circuits. While emotions are certainly influenced by our thoughts, experiences, and circumstances, the underlying biochemistry that creates emotional states can be significantly influenced by the nutrients we consume. Serotonin, often called the happiness neurotransmitter, plays a crucial role in mood regulation, and its production is intimately connected to nutrition. As we explored earlier, serotonin is synthesized from the amino acid tryptophan, but the process is more nuanced than simply eating tryptophan-rich foods. The key insight is that carbohydrates can enhance tryptophan-S ability to cross into the brain by triggering insulin release, which causes competing amino acids to be taken up by muscles, giving tryptophan preferential access to the brain. This biochemical mechanism helps explain why many people intuitively reach for carbohydrate-rich foods when feeling sad, stressed, or anxious. The temporary boost in serotonin production that can result from eating carbohydrates may indeed provide genuine, if short-lived, mood improvement. However, the type of carbohydrates consumed makes a crucial difference in whether this effect is beneficial or potentially harmful. Simple carbohydrates found in candy, baked goods, and sugary drinks can cause rapid spikes and crashes in blood sugar that may worsen mood swings and contribute to anxiety and irritability. Complex carbohydrates found in oats, quinoa, sweet potatoes, and legumes provide a more sustained release of glucose and a gentler, longer-lasting influence on serotonin production. The concept of comfort foods takes on new meaning when viewed through this biochemical lens. Foods like oatmeal, whole grain pasta, and sweet potatoes may genuinely comfort us by supporting steady serotonin production and stable blood sugar levels. When combined with protein sources that provide tryptophan like turkey, fish, or eggs, these meals can create optimal conditions for mood-stabilizing neurotransmitter production. Omega-3 fatty acids, those essential building blocks of brain structure we discussed earlier, also play crucial roles in mood regulation. Low levels of omega-3 fatty acids have been consistently associated with increased rates of depression, anxiety, and mood disorders. The anti-inflammatory effects of these fats may help protect against the neuroinflammation that can contribute to mood problems, while their structural role in neural membranes may optimize neurotransmitter function. Population studies have found that countries with higher fish consumption tend to have lower rates of depression, and several clinical trials have shown that omega-3 supplementation can help reduce symptoms of depression, particularly when used alongside other treatments. The mood benefits appear to be strongest with EPA, the omega-3 fatty acid found primarily in fish, rather than ALA from plant sources. B vitamins represent another crucial family of nutrients for emotional well-being. These vitamins are essential cofactors in the production of neurotransmitters, and deficiencies can directly affect mood. Folate deficiency has been linked to depression and may interfere with the effectiveness of antidepressant medications. Vitamin B12 deficiency can cause symptoms that mimic depression, including fatigue, irritability, and cognitive problems. Vitamin B6 is essential for the synthesis of serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. The relationship between B vitamins and mood highlights the importance of whole foods over isolated nutrients. Leafy greens, legumes, whole grains, and animal products provide B vitamins in the context of other nutrients that support their absorption and function. For example, folate from food sources appears to be more readily available to the body than synthetic folic acid from supplements. Magnesium, a mineral found abundantly in leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains, plays important roles in mood regulation. This mineral is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, including many that affect brain function. Magnesium deficiency has been linked to increased anxiety, irritability, and depression. The mineral helps regulate the stress response system and supports the function of GABA, the brain's primary calming neurotransmitter. Many people in developed countries consume inadequate amounts of magnesium due to soil depletion and reliance on processed foods. Chronic stress can further deplete magnesium stores, creating a cycle where stress leads to magnesium deficiency, which in turn makes the body less resilient to stress. Including magnesium-rich foods like dark chocolate, pumpkin seeds, almonds, and spinach in the diet can help support emotional resilience. The trace mineral zinc also influences mood and cognitive function. Zinc deficiency has been associated with depression, anxiety, and attention problems. This mineral is involved in neurotransmitter production and helps regulate the stress hormone cortisol. Oysters are exceptionally rich in zinc, while other good sources include beef, pumpkin seeds, and cashews. Iron deficiency, particularly common in women of reproductive age, can significantly affect mood and energy levels. Even mild iron deficiency can cause fatigue, irritability, and difficulty concentrating, symptoms that can be mistaken for depression or anxiety. Iron is essential for oxygen transport to brain tissue and for the synthesis of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. The relationship between blood sugar stability and mood deserves special attention. Fluctuations in blood glucose levels can directly affect mood, energy, and cognitive function. When blood sugar drops to low, the body releases stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol to raise glucose levels. This stress hormone response can create feelings of anxiety, irritability, and panic that can be mistaken for psychological rather than physiological phenomena. Eating regular meals that combine protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates can help maintain stable blood sugar levels and support more consistent mood throughout the day. Skipping meals, relying on sugary snacks, or eating large amounts of simple carbohydrates can create blood sugar roller coasters that contribute to mood swings and emotional instability. The gut-brain axis, which we explored in detail earlier, adds another layer to the food-mood connection. The bacteria in our gut produce neurotransmitters and influence inflammation levels, both of which can affect mood. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, and sauerkraut provide beneficial bacteria that may support mood stability, while prebiotic foods like garlic, onions, and asparagus feed beneficial bacteria already in the gut. Cultural and psychological aspects of food also influence its effects on mood. Foods associated with positive memories, cultural traditions, or social connections may have mood benefits that extend beyond their nutritional content. The act of preparing and sharing meals with others can itself be therapeutic, providing social connection and a sense of nurturing that supports emotional well-being. However, it is important to distinguish between foods that genuinely support mood chemistry and those that provide only temporary emotional relief. While there's nothing wrong with occasionally enjoying treats for pleasure, relying primarily on highly processed, sugary, or fatty foods for emotional regulation can create cycles of temporary relief followed by worsening mood and energy. Caffeine deserves special mention in any discussion of mood foods. While moderate amounts of caffeine can enhance alertness and mood, excessive intake can increase anxiety and interfere with sleep, both of which can negatively affect emotional well-being. Individual sensitivity to caffeine varies widely, so paying attention to how different amounts affect your mood and sleep is important for optimal emotional health. The timing of meals can also influence mood. Eating breakfast helps stabilize blood sugar levels after the overnight fast and can improve mood and cognitive performance throughout the morning. Skipping breakfast has been associated with increased anxiety and depression in some studies, possibly due to prolonged periods of low blood sugar and elevated stress hormones. Evening eating patterns may also affect mood, partly through their influence on sleep quality. Large, heavy meals close to bedtime can interfere with sleep, which in turn affects mood regulation the next day. Light, easily digestible evening meals that include some protein and complex carbohydrates may support better sleep and more stable mood. Seasonal changes in mood, such as those experienced in seasonal affective disorder SAD, may also be influenced by nutrition. During darker months, some people may benefit from foods rich in vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, and complex carbohydrates. The tradition of warm, comforting foods during winter months may represent an intuitive response to seasonal mood changes. For individuals dealing with clinical depression or anxiety, nutrition cannot replace professional treatment but can be an important component of a comprehensive approach to mental health. Working with healthcare providers to address nutritional deficiencies, optimize diet quality, and ensure that nutritional factors are not contributing to mood problems can enhance the effectiveness of other treatments. The field of nutritional psychiatry is rapidly evolving, with researchers investigating how specific dietary patterns, individual nutrients, and gut microbiome health can be used therapeutically to support mental health. While we still have much to learn, the evidence increasingly supports the idea that nutrition is a modifiable factor that can significantly influence mood, emotional resilience, and overall mental well-being. As we continue our exploration of how food affects the brain, remember that every meal represents an opportunity to nourish not just your body, but your emotional well-being. The proteins that become neurotransmitters, the fats that stabilize neural membranes, the carbohydrates that fuel brain function, and the vitamins and minerals that support biochemical processes all contribute to the foundation upon which your emotional experience is built. Choosing foods that support mood stability doesn't require perfection or deprivation. Rather, it involves developing awareness of how different foods affect your energy, mood, and well-being, and gradually shifting toward patterns of eating that support your emotional health alongside your physical health. In doing so, you create conditions that support not just survival, but the flourishing of your full human potential for joy, resilience, and emotional well-being. In the quiet chambers of your hippocampus, where memories are born and learning unfolds like delicate flowers opening to the morning sun, a constant symphony of molecular activity transforms fleeting experiences into lasting knowledge. This remarkable process of memory formation and learning depends not only on attention and practice, but also on the steady supply of specific nutrients that fuel the energy-intensive work of encoding, consolidating, and retrieving the information that shapes who you are and what you know. Tonight, let us explore the fascinating relationship between nutrition and cognitive performance. Understanding how the foods you consume can enhance your ability to learn new information, form lasting memories, and maintain the mental clarity that allows you to navigate the complexities of daily life with focus and insight. The process of memory formation is one of the most energy-demanding activities your brain performs. When you learn something new, whether it's a friend's phone number, the plot of a story, or how to play a musical instrument, your brain must physically change. New connections form between neurons, existing connections strengthen, and sometimes entirely new brain cells are born. All of these processes require substantial amounts of energy and specific nutrients to proceed effectively. Your hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure deep in your temporal lobe, serves as the primary hub for forming new memories. This region is particularly sensitive to changes in blood glucose levels, making stable blood sugar crucial for optimal memory function. When glucose levels drop to low, even temporarily, your ability to encode new memories can be significantly impaired. This is why students who skip breakfast often perform poorly on morning exams, and why maintaining steady blood sugar throughout the day supports consistent cognitive performance. The relationship between glucose and memory is complex and nuanced. While adequate glucose is essential for memory formation, too much glucose, especially from simple sugars that cause rapid spikes in blood sugar, can actually impair memory function. The key is providing a steady, moderate supply of glucose through complex carbohydrates that are digested slowly and don't cause dramatic fluctuations in blood sugar levels. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA, play crucial structural and functional roles in memory formation. The hippocampus contains some of the highest concentrations of DHA in the brain, and this fatty acid is essential for the fluidity of neural membranes that allows efficient communication between brain cells. Studies have consistently shown that people with higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids in their blood tend to have better memory performance and larger hippocampal volume. The memory benefits of omega-3 fatty acids appear to be lifelong. During fetal development and early childhood, adequate DHA is crucial for the development of memory systems. Throughout life, maintaining optimal omega-3 levels supports ongoing memory function. In older adults, higher omega-3 intake has been associated with slower memory decline and reduced risk of dementia. Choline, a nutrient found abundantly in eggs, fish, and certain vegetables, serves as the building block for acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that plays a central role in attention, learning, and memory. Acetylcholine is often called the learning neurotransmitter because of its crucial role in the formation of new memories and the maintenance of focused attention. The cholinergic system, the network of neurons that use acetylcholine as their primary neurotransmitter, is one of the first affected in Alzheimer's disease, which helps explain why memory problems are typically the earliest symptoms of this condition. Maintaining adequate choline intake throughout life may help preserve the function of this crucial memory system as we age. Eggs are particularly rich in choline, with a single egg providing about 25% of the daily requirement. This may be one reason why eggs have been considered brain food in many cultures. The choline in eggs is also accompanied by other memory-supporting nutrients, including B vitamins and high-quality protein, making eggs an excellent food for cognitive health. B vitamins, particularly B6, B12, and folate, work together to support memory function through several mechanisms. These vitamins are essential for the synthesis of neurotransmitters, including acetylcholine, serotonin, and dopamine, all of which play roles in memory and learning. They also help maintain healthy levels of homocysteine, an amino acid that can damage brain tissue when elevated. The relationship between B vitamins and memory becomes increasingly important with age. As we get older, our ability to absorb certain B vitamins, particularly B12, may decline. Deficiencies in these vitamins can cause memory problems that may be mistaken for normal aging or early dementia. Ensuring adequate intake of B-rich foods like leafy greens, legumes, fish, and meat throughout life may help preserve memory function as we age. Antioxidants play particularly important roles in protecting the memory systems of the brain. The hippocampus and other regions involved in memory formation are highly metabolically active and therefore vulnerable to oxidative stress. The anthocyanins found in blueberries have been shown to accumulate preferentially in the hippocampus, where they may protect against age-related memory decline. Several studies have found that people who regularly consume berries show better memory performance and may experience slower cognitive decline with aging. The mechanisms appear to involve both antioxidant protection and direct effects on neural communication and plasticity. Berries may also help reduce inflammation in brain tissue, which can interfere with memory formation. The flavonoids found in green tea, dark chocolate, and certain fruits have also been shown to support memory function. These compounds can cross the blood-brain barrier and may enhance blood flow to the brain, improve neural communication, and support the growth of new neural connections. The moderate amount of caffeine in green tea may provide additional memory benefits. By enhancing attention and alertness during learning, iron deficiency can significantly impair memory and learning abilities. Iron is essential for oxygen transport to brain tissue and for the function of enzymes involved in neurotransmitter synthesis. Even mild iron deficiency can cause problems with attention, memory, and learning, particularly in children and women of reproductive age who have higher iron requirements. The relationship between iron and memory highlights the importance of considering nutritional status when evaluating cognitive performance. Students struggling with memory and concentration, for example, may benefit from evaluation of their iron status and dietary habits rather than simply assuming they need to study harder or use different learning strategies. Zinc is another mineral that plays important roles in memory formation. This trace element is involved in the function of many enzymes in the brain and helps regulate communication between neurons. Zinc deficiency has been associated with memory problems and learning difficulties. Oysters are exceptionally rich in zinc, while other good sources include beef, pumpkin seeds, and cashews. The timing of nutrient intake can also influence memory performance. Eating a balanced breakfast that includes protein, complex carbohydrates, and healthy fats has been shown to improve memory and cognitive performance throughout the morning. The protein provides amino acids for neurotransmitter synthesis. The carbohydrates provide steady glucose for brain fuel, and the fats support the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. Conversely, skipping meals or eating foods that cause rapid fluctuations in blood sugar can impair memory function. Students who rely on sugary snacks and caffeinated beverages for energy often experience periods of improved alertness followed by crashes that impair their ability to concentrate and remember information. Hydration status also affects memory and learning. Even mild dehydration can impair cognitive performance, including memory formation and recall. The brain is about 75% water, and adequate hydration is necessary for optimal neural function. Drinking water regularly throughout the day, rather than waiting until you feel thirsty, helps maintain the hydration levels necessary for peak cognitive performance. Caffeine, when used judiciously, can enhance memory formation and recall. Moderate amounts of caffeine equivalent to about 1 cup of coffee can improve attention, alertness, and working memory. However, excessive caffeine intake can cause anxiety and jitteriness that actually impair learning and memory. Individual sensitivity to caffeine varies widely, so finding the optimal amount for cognitive enhancement without negative side effects is important. The social and environmental context of eating can also influence its effects on memory and learning. Meals shared with others in relaxed settings may provide better cognitive benefits than food consumed quickly or under stress. Stress hormones can interfere with memory formation, so creating positive associations around eating and learning can enhance the cognitive benefits of good nutrition. Sleep nutrition. The foods consumed in the evening that may affect sleep quality indirectly influences memory and learning. During sleep, particularly during deep sleep stages, the brain consolidates memories formed during the day, transferring information from temporary storage in the hippocampus to long-term storage in the cortex. Foods that support healthy sleep patterns, such as those containing tryptophan and magnesium, may therefore enhance memory consolidation. The Mediterranean diet, rich in fish, olive oil, nuts, fruits, and vegetables, has been extensively studied for its effects on cognitive function and memory. People who follow this dietary pattern tend to show better memory performance and slower cognitive decline with aging. The diet's benefits likely result from its combination of omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, healthy fats, and anti-inflammatory compounds working synergistically to support brain health. For students and others engaged in intensive learning, certain nutritional strategies may be particularly beneficial. Eating regular meals that combine protein and complex carbohydrates can help maintain steady blood sugar and support consistent cognitive performance. Including omega-3 rich foods like fish or walnuts several times per week may support the neural plasticity needed for learning new information. However, it's important to remember that nutrition works best as part of a comprehensive approach to cognitive health. Adequate sleep, regular physical exercise, stress management, and engaging in challenging mental activities are all important for memory and learning. Good nutrition provides the foundation that allows these other factors to work effectively. The field of cognitive nutrition is rapidly evolving, with researchers investigating how specific nutrients and dietary patterns can be used to enhance learning and protect against age-related memory decline. While individual responses to nutritional interventions can vary, the evidence increasingly supports the idea that what we eat significantly influences our ability to learn, remember, and think clearly. As we continue our exploration of the relationship between food and brain function, remember that every meal represents an opportunity to nourish not just your body, but your cognitive abilities. The nutrients you consume today become the building blocks for tomorrow's memories, the fuel for today's learning, and the protection for your future cognitive health. Optimizing nutrition for memory and learning doesn't require complicated interventions or expensive supplements. Rather, it involves understanding the basic nutritional needs of your brain and consistently providing those nutrients through a varied, balanced diet rich in whole foods. In doing so, you create the optimal conditions for your remarkable capacity to learn, grow, and remember the experiences that make life meaningful and rich. In the gentle quietude of a mother's womb, where life unfolds in darkness warmed by love and nourished by intention, the human brain begins its remarkable journey, a journey of growth and development that will continue for more than 2 decades, shaping the neural networks that will carry consciousness, creativity, and compassion throughout a lifetime. The nutrition provided during this crucial period of development becomes literally woven into the structure of the growing brain, influencing not just immediate growth, but the foundation upon which all future learning, emotion, and cognition will rest. Tonight, let us explore the profound relationship between nutrition and brain development, understanding how the foods consumed during pregnancy, infancy, childhood, and adolescence become the building blocks of neural architecture, supporting optimal cognitive development and creating the conditions for a lifetime of mental health and intellectual potential. The human brain's development represents one of nature's most extraordinary achievements. Beginning just a few weeks after conception, neural tissue forms at the astounding rate of 250,000 new neurons per minute. During peak periods of fetal brain development, this rapid growth continues through birth and well into childhood, with the brain reaching about 80% of its adult size by age 2, and continuing to mature and refine its connections through the teenage years and into the early 20s. This extended period of brain development creates both tremendous opportunity and significant vulnerability. The plasticity that allows the developing brain to adapt and learn also makes it particularly sensitive to nutritional influences. The nutrients available during critical windows of development can have lasting effects on brain structure, function, and cognitive potential. During pregnancy, the developing fetus depends entirely on maternal nutrition for the building blocks of brain development. The neural tube, which will become the brain and spinal cord, forms during the first month of pregnancy, often before a woman even knows she's pregnant. Adequate folate during this crucial period is essential for proper neural tube development, which is why folate supplementation before and during early pregnancy has become a standard recommendation. But folate is just one of many nutrients crucial for fetal brain development. The omega-3 fatty acid we've discussed as essential for brain function accumulates rapidly in fetal brain tissue during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. Pregnant women with adequate DHA intake tend to have children with better cognitive outcomes, including improved attention, memory, and problem-solving abilities. The developing brain's need for DHA is so great that if maternal intake is insufficient, the fetus will actually deplete the mother's DHA stores, potentially affecting the mother's own cognitive function and mood. This biological prioritization of fetal brain development underscores the critical importance of adequate omega-3 intake during pregnancy. Iron requirements also increase significantly during pregnancy. To support both increased maternal blood volume and fetal development, iron deficiency during pregnancy has been associated with increased risk of premature birth and low birth weight, both of which can affect brain development. Children born to mothers with iron deficiency may show delayed cognitive development and behavioral problems that can persist into school age. Protein needs increase during pregnancy to support the rapid growth of fetal tissues, including brain tissue. The amino acids from protein become the building blocks for neurotransmitters and the structural proteins that form neural connections. Adequate protein intake throughout pregnancy supports optimal brain development and cognitive potential. Choline, essential for brain development and the production of acetylcholine, is particularly important during pregnancy and breastfeeding. The developing brain has an enormous appetite for choline, and maternal choline intake during pregnancy can influence memory and cognitive function in offspring. Eggs, fish, and certain vegetables provide rich sources of this crucial nutrient. The period immediately following birth represents another critical window for brain development. Human babies are born with brains that are relatively immature compared to other mammals, requiring extensive postnatal development. This extended development period allows for tremendous learning and adaptation, but also creates continued nutritional vulnerability. Breast milk represents nature's perfectly designed brain food for human infants. It contains optimal ratios of nutrients needed for brain development, including DHA. Cholesterol essential for brain development despite being harmful in excess in adults, and specialized proteins that support neural growth. The composition of breast milk actually changes over time to match the developing baby's changing nutritional needs. For infants who cannot breastfeed, modern formulas are designed to approximate the nutritional profile of breast milk, including the addition of DHA and other nutrients important for brain development. However, breast milk also contains antibodies and other bioactive compounds that cannot be replicated in formula, which may contribute to the cognitive advantages often observed in breastfed children. The introduction of solid foods represents another important milestone in brain development. The timing and types of foods introduced can influence both immediate and long-term cognitive development. Iron-rich foods are particularly important during this transition, as babies' iron stores from birth begin to decline around 6 months of age, just when their brains are undergoing rapid development. Early childhood nutrition continues to play crucial roles in brain development. The preschool years are characterized by rapid synaptogenesis, the formation of connections between neurons and myelination, the process by which neural pathways are insulated to improve signal transmission. Both processes require adequate nutrition, including healthy fats for myelin formation and a variety of nutrients to support energy metabolism and cellular growth. Children who experience malnutrition during these critical early years may show lasting effects on cognitive development even if nutrition improves later. This underscores the importance of ensuring adequate nutrition during the first few years of life, when the brain is most plastic and responsive to nutritional influences. However, the story of brain development and nutrition doesn't end in early childhood. The adolescent brain undergoes another period of dramatic development, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for executive function, decision-making, and impulse control. This brain region doesn't fully mature until the mid-20s, creating an extended window during which nutrition can influence cognitive development. Adolescence is often characterized by poor eating habits, skipping meals, relying on processed foods, and consuming excessive amounts of sugar and caffeine. These patterns can occur at a time when the brain's nutritional needs are actually quite high. Due to rapid growth and development, the hormonal changes of adolescence can also affect appetite regulation and food preferences, sometimes leading to nutritional imbalances. Research has shown that adolescents who consume diets high in processed foods and sugar show poorer cognitive performance and are more likely to experience mood problems compared to those eating more balanced, nutrient-dense diets. The developing adolescent brain may be particularly vulnerable to the effects of poor nutrition on mood regulation and cognitive function. The importance of nutrition for cognitive development has led to increasing recognition of the role of school nutrition programs in supporting academic achievement. Studies have consistently shown that children who eat breakfast perform better on cognitive tests and show improved attention and behavior in school. School meal programs that provide balanced, Nutrient-rich foods have been associated with improved academic outcomes and reduced behavioral problems. The social and cultural aspects of food also play important roles in child development. Family meals provide opportunities not just for nutrition but for social learning, communication development, and the establishment of healthy eating patterns that can last a lifetime. Children who regularly eat meals with their families tend to have better nutritional status and academic performance. Food preferences and eating behaviors established in childhood often persist into adulthood, making early nutrition education and exposure to healthy foods particularly important. Children who are exposed to a variety of nutritious foods and positive food experiences are more likely to maintain healthy eating patterns throughout life, supporting their long-term cognitive health and well-being. Certain nutrients deserve special attention during childhood and adolescence due to their roles in brain development. Calcium and vitamin D, essential for bone development, also play roles in neural function. Iron remains crucial throughout childhood and adolescence, particularly for girls who begin menstruating. Zinc supports cognitive function and is often inadequate in adolescent diets. The gut microbiome, which begins developing at birth and continues evolving throughout childhood, also influences brain development through the gut-brain axis. Early antibiotic use, feeding methods, and dietary patterns all influence microbiome development, which in turn may affect cognitive and emotional development. Providing foods that support a healthy, diverse microbiome including fiber-rich foods and fermented foods appropriate for age may support optimal brain development. Sleep nutrition becomes increasingly important during adolescence, when changing circadian rhythms and academic pressures can interfere with healthy sleep patterns. Since sleep is crucial for memory, consolidation, and brain development, foods that support healthy sleep while avoiding those that interfere with it become important considerations for adolescent nutrition. The developing brain's response to various substances also differs from the adult brain. Caffeine, for example, may have different effects on children and adolescents than on adults, potentially interfering with sleep and anxiety levels. Alcohol and other substances can have particularly damaging effects on the developing brain, making prevention and education important components of supporting healthy brain development. Looking toward the future, research is increasingly showing that nutritional interventions during development may have effects that persist across generations. Through epigenetic mechanisms, changes in gene expression that can be inherited. This suggests that the nutritional choices made by one generation may influence the brain health and cognitive potential of future generations. As we continue our exploration of nutrition and brain health, it's important to remember that supporting optimal brain development doesn't require perfect nutrition or expensive interventions. Rather, it involves understanding the brain's developmental needs and consistently providing adequate nutrition through varied, balanced diets appropriate for each stage of development. The goal is not to create pressure or anxiety around childhood nutrition, but rather to recognize the profound opportunity we have to support the developing brain through thoughtful, consistent attention to nutritional needs. Every meal provided to a growing child, every positive food experience created, every healthy eating pattern established becomes part of the foundation for a lifetime of cognitive health and potential. In nourishing the developing brain, we're not just supporting immediate growth and learning, we're investing in the future capacity for creativity, compassion, resilience, and wisdom that will shape not only individual lives, but the communities and world in which those lives unfold. This perspective transforms the simple act of feeding children into a profound act of hope and investment in human potential. In the gentle autumn of human life, when wisdom deepens like wine aged in oak and experience creates patterns more beautiful than youth could imagine, the brain faces new challenges and opportunities that make nutrition not just important for daily function, but crucial for preserving the precious cognitive abilities that define our sense of self. The aging brain, while naturally changing in structure and function, retains remarkable capacity for growth, adaptation, and learning capacities that can be supported and enhanced through thoughtful attention to nutritional needs that evolve across the lifespan. Tonight, let us explore the relationship between nutrition and cognitive aging, understanding how the foods we choose in our later years can support brain health, protect against decline, and nurture the continued flourishing of memory, wisdom, and mental clarity that allow us to remain fully engaged with life's ongoing adventure. The aging process affects every organ in the body, and the brain is no exception. Beginning around age 30, the brain naturally begins to shrink slightly, losing about 5% of its weight per decade. Blood flow to the brain may decrease, and the efficiency of certain metabolic processes may decline. The production of some neurotransmitters may decrease, and the brain's ability to form new neural connections, while never completely lost, may become less robust. However, these natural changes don't inevitably lead to significant cognitive impairment or loss of function. The brain possesses remarkable compensatory abilities, developing new neural pathways to maintain function, even as some older pathways become less efficient. This neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and adapt, continues throughout life, providing opportunities for nutrition to support healthy brain aging. Research has consistently shown that people who maintain healthy lifestyles, including good nutrition, regular physical activity, and continued mental engagement, tend to experience less cognitive decline and maintain better brain function as they age. This suggests that while some changes are inevitable, many aspects of brain aging can be influenced by lifestyle choices, with nutrition playing a central role. One of the most significant nutritional considerations for brain aging involves protecting against oxidative stress and inflammation. Over decades of life, the brain accumulates damage from free radicals, those reactive molecules produced during normal metabolism that can damage cellular structures. While the brain has natural antioxidant defenses, these systems may become less efficient with age, making dietary antioxidants increasingly important for protecting neural tissue. The Mediterranean diet has emerged as one of the most thoroughly studied dietary patterns for supporting healthy brain aging. This way of eating, rich in olive oil, fish, nuts, fruits, and vegetables, provides abundant antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that may help protect against age-related cognitive decline. Multiple studies have found that people who follow Mediterranean-style diets tend to maintain better cognitive function and have lower rates of dementia as they age. Building on research about the Mediterranean diet, scientists have developed the Mind Diet Mediterranean-intervention for neurodegenerative delay, specifically designed to support brain health. This dietary pattern emphasizes foods that have been specifically associated with cognitive benefits, including leafy greens, berries, nuts, olive oil, fish, and whole grains, while limiting foods that may promote inflammation or oxidative stress. Studies of the Mind diet have found that people who follow it most closely show significantly slower cognitive decline, equivalent to being 7.5 years younger cognitively than those who follow it least closely. Even moderate adherence to the Mind diet principles appears to provide cognitive benefits, suggesting that it's never too late to begin making brain-healthy food choices. Omega-3 fatty acids become increasingly important for brain health as we age. DHA levels in brain tissue may decline with aging, and the brain's ability to synthesize DHA from other omega-3 fatty acids becomes less efficient. Maintaining adequate intake of DHA from fish or supplements may help preserve brain structure and function. Studies have found that older adults with higher omega-3 levels tend to have larger brain volumes and better cognitive performance. The anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3 fatty acids may be particularly important for aging brains. Chronic inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging, is increasingly recognized as a factor in age-related cognitive decline. Omega-3 fatty acids help resolve inflammation and may protect against the neuroinflammation that can contribute to neurodegenerative processes. B vitamins take on special importance in cognitive aging due to their roles in maintaining healthy brain metabolism and protecting against neurodegeneration. As we age, our ability to absorb certain B vitamins, particularly B12, may decline due to changes in stomach acid production and other factors. Deficiencies in B12, folate, and B6 can cause symptoms that mimic dementia, including memory problems, confusion, and mood changes. The relationship between B vitamins and brain health is partly mediated through their effects on homocysteine, an amino acid that can damage brain tissue when elevated. B vitamins help convert homocysteine into harmless compounds, keeping levels low. High homocysteine levels have been associated with increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia, making adequate B vitamin intake particularly important for older adults. Vitamin D has emerged as another important nutrient for brain aging. Receptors for vitamin D are found throughout the brain, and this vitamin appears to play roles in neuroplasticity, neuroprotection, and neurotransmitter synthesis. Low vitamin D levels have been associated with increased risk of cognitive decline and depression in older adults. The ability to synthesize vitamin D in the skin decreases with age, and older adults often have limited sun exposure, making dietary sources and supplements particularly important. Fatty fish, fortified foods, and supplements can help maintain adequate vitamin D levels to support brain health. Antioxidant compounds become increasingly important for protecting the aging brain against accumulated oxidative damage. The colorful compounds that give fruits and vegetables their vibrant hues: anthocyanins in berries, carotenoids in orange and red vegetables, flavonoids in tea and chocolate provide protection against the free radical damage that accumulates over time. Berries deserve special mention for their brain protective properties in aging. The anthocyanins in blueberries, strawberries, and other berries can cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in brain regions associated with memory. Studies have found that older adults who consume berries regularly show better memory performance and may experience slower cognitive decline. Green tea, rich in the flavonoid EGCG, has also shown promise for supporting cognitive health in aging. This compound can cross the blood-brain barrier and has been shown to protect neurons, reduce inflammation, and potentially stimulate the growth of new brain cells. Regular green tea consumption has been associated with better cognitive function in older adults. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has generated significant research interest for its potential role in brain aging. This powerful anti-inflammatory compound may help clear amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease and protect against neurodegeneration. While more research is needed, the low rates of Alzheimer's disease in populations that consume high amounts of turmeric suggest this spice may offer protective benefits. The importance of maintaining adequate protein intake increases with age, due to changes in protein metabolism and the risk of muscle loss that can affect overall health. And independence. The brain's need for amino acids for neurotransmitter synthesis continues throughout life, and adequate protein intake helps ensure availability of these crucial building blocks. However, older adults may face challenges in consuming adequate protein due to changes in appetite, dental problems, medication effects, or other factors. Focusing on high-quality, easily digestible protein sources and spreading protein intake throughout the day can help ensure adequate amino acid availability for brain function. Hydration becomes increasingly important for cognitive function as we age. Older adults have a reduced sense of thirst and may be at increased risk for dehydration, which can quickly affect cognitive performance. Even mild dehydration can impair attention, memory, and executive function in older adults, making consistent fluid intake throughout the day important for maintaining cognitive clarity. The gut-brain axis takes on new significance in aging, as changes in gut bacteria composition that often occur with age may affect brain health through inflammation and neurotransmitter production. Maintaining a diverse, healthy gut microbiome through fiber-rich foods and fermented foods may support both digestive health and cognitive function in older adults. Social and cultural aspects of eating become particularly important in aging, as social isolation and depression can affect both appetite and cognitive function. Sharing meals with others, maintaining food traditions, and finding pleasure in eating can support not just nutritional status, but overall mental health and cognitive engagement. Practical considerations also become important for older adults, including managing medications that may affect appetite or nutrient absorption, adapting to changes in taste and smell that can affect food enjoyment, and addressing physical limitations that may make food preparation challenging. The timing of meals may also become more important with age. Older adults may benefit from eating smaller, more frequent meals to maintain steady blood sugar levels and avoid the cognitive effects of hypoglycemia. Eating adequate breakfast becomes particularly important for supporting cognitive function throughout the day. Sleep nutrition, the foods that support healthy sleep, becomes increasingly relevant, as aging often brings changes in sleep patterns. Foods rich in tryptophan and magnesium, consumed as part of a light evening meal, may support the quality sleep that is crucial for memory consolidation and cognitive health. Emerging research suggests that intermittent fasting or caloric restriction may have benefits for brain aging, potentially activating cellular repair mechanisms and promoting neuroplasticity. However, any significant dietary changes should be made under medical supervision, particularly for older adults who may have increased nutritional needs or medical conditions that affect metabolism. The concept of cognitive reserve, the brain's resilience against age-related changes, appears to be influenced by lifelong patterns of nutrition, education, and mental activity. While it's never too late to begin supporting brain health through nutrition, earlier and more consistent attention to brain-healthy eating patterns may provide greater protection against age-related cognitive decline. Supplements may play a role in supporting brain health in aging, particularly for nutrients that are difficult to obtain in adequate amounts from food alone, or that are poorly absorbed with age. However, supplements should complement, not replace, a healthy diet, and any supplement use should be discussed with healthcare providers to avoid interactions with medications or other health conditions. As we reflect on nutrition and the aging brain, it is important to remember that cognitive aging is not simply about preventing decline. It is about supporting the continued growth, learning, and wisdom that can make later life rich with meaning and engagement. The brain retains remarkable capacity for adaptation and learning throughout life, and good nutrition provides the foundation that allows these capacities to flourish. The goal is not to achieve perfect nutrition or to become anxious about every food choice, but rather to embrace the opportunity that each meal provides to nourish not just the body, but the mind, supporting the cognitive vitality that allows us to remain fully engaged with life's ongoing adventure, learning, and growth. In choosing foods that support brain health as we age, we're not just preserving function, we're investing in our continued capacity for wisdom, creativity, connection, and joy. We're supporting the neural networks that hold our memories, enable our relationships, and allow us to continue contributing to the world around us with the full richness of our accumulated experience and ongoing potential. In our gentle exploration of how nutrition shapes consciousness, we must pause to consider not only the foods that nourish and protect the brain, but also those that, when consumed regularly or in excess, may cloud mental clarity, disrupt emotional balance, and potentially harm the delicate neural networks that create our thoughts and experiences. This understanding comes not from judgment or fear, but from compassion, the recognition that our brains, like tender gardens, can be harmed by substances that seem appealing in the moment, but may undermine long-term cognitive health and well-being. Tonight, let us softly examine the foods and substances that may interfere with optimal brain function, understanding their effects not to create anxiety or rigid rules, but to empower mindful choices that support the clarity, emotional balance, and cognitive vitality that allow us to live fully and consciously. The modern food environment presents unprecedented challenges to brain health. Many of the foods that are most readily available, heavily marketed, and socially accepted can, when consumed regularly, create patterns of brain chemistry that promote inflammation, instability, a gradual decline in cognitive function. Understanding these effects allows us to make conscious choices about which foods to embrace and which to enjoy occasionally, while being mindful of their potential impacts. Highly processed foods, engineered to be hyperpalatable through combinations of sugar, salt, and fat, can significantly affect brain function and behavior. These foods are designed to override natural satiety signals and create cravings that can be difficult to resist. The rapid absorption of their simple carbohydrates causes dramatic spikes and crashes in blood sugar that can affect mood, energy, and cognitive performance. Regular consumption of highly processed foods, has been associated with increased inflammation throughout the body, including in brain tissue. This neuroinflammation can affect neurotransmitter function, impair memory formation, and contribute to mood disorders. The artificial additives, preservatives, and other chemicals in processed foods may also have direct effects on neural function. Though research in this area is still evolving, perhaps more concerning is the way highly processed foods can affect the brain's reward systems. These foods trigger the release of dopamine in ways that can gradually desensitize reward pathways, potentially leading to reduced pleasure from natural rewards like social connection, physical activity, or simple foods. This can create cycles where increasingly intense stimulation is needed to achieve satisfaction, potentially affecting motivation and emotional well-being. Added sugars, particularly high fructose corn syrup and other sweeteners used in processed foods and beverages, present specific challenges to brain health. While glucose is the brain's primary fuel, excessive amounts, especially when consumed rapidly without fiber or other nutrients, to slow absorption can cause inflammatory reactions in brain tissue. High sugar intake has been associated with impaired memory function, reduced cognitive flexibility, and mood instability. The rapid blood sugar fluctuations caused by high sugar consumption can trigger stress hormone responses that may interfere with learning and memory formation. Over time, frequent exposure to high sugar levels may contribute to insulin resistance in brain tissue, potentially affecting cognitive function and increasing risk of neurodegenerative diseases. The effects of sugar on the developing brain may be particularly concerning. Studies have found that children who consume high amounts of added sugars show poorer performance on cognitive tests and may be more likely to experience attention and behavioral problems. The developing brain's reward systems may be especially vulnerable to the effects of frequent sugar exposure. Trans fats, found in many processed and fried foods, represent one of the most clearly harmful dietary components for brain health. These artificially created fats can incorporate into brain cell membranes, where they increase inflammation and may interfere with normal neural function. Regular consumption of trans fats has been associated with poorer cognitive performance and increased risk of dementia. While many countries have banned or restricted trans fats in food production, they may still be found in some processed foods, baked goods, and foods prepared with partially hydrogenated oils. Reading ingredient labels and avoiding foods containing partially hydrogenated oils can help minimize exposure to these harmful fats. Excessive sodium intake, common in processed foods and restaurant meals, can affect brain function through several mechanisms. High sodium intake can contribute to high blood pressure, which over time can damage the small blood vessels that supply the brain, potentially affecting cognitive function. Excessive sodium may also directly affect neurotransmitter function and has been associated with cognitive decline in some studies. The timing and context of sodium intake matter as well. Consuming very salty foods can cause temporary dehydration, which quickly affects cognitive performance. Learning to appreciate foods with less added salt allows taste buds to adapt and can help maintain both cardiovascular and brain health. Alcohol presents a complex relationship with brain health that depends heavily on amount, frequency, and individual factors. While moderate alcohol consumption has been associated with some health benefits, in certain populations, alcohol is fundamentally a neurotoxin that can affect brain function in multiple ways. Even moderate alcohol consumption can interfere with sleep quality, particularly the deep sleep stages crucial for memory consolidation and brain detoxification. Regular alcohol use can affect neurotransmitter function, particularly GABA and glutamate systems, potentially contributing to anxiety and mood instability. Heavy alcohol use can cause direct damage to brain tissue and is associated with increased risk of dementia and cognitive decline. The developing brain is particularly vulnerable to alcohol's effects, which is why alcohol consumption during pregnancy can cause lasting cognitive and behavioral problems in children. The adolescent brain, still developing through the early 20s, is also more susceptible to alcohol's harmful effects on cognitive function and emotional regulation. Excessive caffeine consumption can also negatively affect brain function. Despite caffeine's benefits in moderate amounts, high caffeine intake can cause anxiety, jitteriness, and sleep disruption, all of which can impair cognitive performance and emotional well-being. Individual sensitivity to caffeine varies widely, and what constitutes excessive differs from person to person. Caffeine withdrawal can cause temporary cognitive impairment, headaches, and mood changes, suggesting physical dependence. For optimal brain health, maintaining moderate, consistent caffeine intake or avoiding it entirely tends to be more beneficial than consuming large or irregular amounts. Artificial sweeteners, while calorie-free, may have their own effects on brain function. Some research suggests that artificial sweeteners may affect gut bacteria composition, potentially influencing the gut-brain axis. Other studies have raised questions about potential effects on neurotransmitter function, though research in this area is still developing and somewhat controversial. The concern with artificial sweeteners may be less about direct toxicity and more about their potential to maintain preferences for intensely sweet tastes, possibly making it harder to appreciate the more subtle flavors of whole foods that provide better overall nutrition for brain health. Foods high in advanced glycation end products, ages, compounds formed when proteins or fats combined with sugars at high temperatures may also contribute to brain aging and cognitive decline. These compounds are found in foods that are fried, grilled, or processed at high temperatures. While the body can handle some AGEs, excessive intake may promote inflammation and oxidative stress in brain tissue. Food additives and preservatives represent another area of concern, though research on their specific effects on brain function is still evolving. Some studies have suggested that certain food dyes, preservatives, and flavor enhancers may affect behavior and attention, particularly in children. While the evidence is not conclusive for all additives, choosing whole foods over heavily processed foods naturally reduces exposure to these compounds. Mercury and other heavy metals, which can accumulate in certain fish and seafood, present specific risks to brain health. While fish provides important omega-3 fatty acids for brain health, certain large fish such as shark, swordfish, and king mackerel may contain levels of mercury that could be harmful, particularly for pregnant women and young children whose developing brains are more vulnerable to mercury's effects. The key is choosing fish that are high in omega-3 south but low in mercury, such as salmon, sardines, and anchovies, while limiting consumption of fish known to be high in mercury. This allows you to gain the brain benefits of omega-3 fatty acids, while minimizing exposure to harmful compounds. It's important to approach this information about potentially harmful foods with balance and perspective. The goal is not to create fear or anxiety around eating, but rather to develop awareness that supports informed choices. Many foods that may be harmful when consumed regularly can be enjoyed occasionally, as part of an overall healthy diet without significant negative effects. The dose makes the poison. Small amounts of sugar, processed foods, or alcohol consumed occasionally are unlikely to cause significant harm to most healthy individuals. The concern arises with regular, excessive consumption of these foods, particularly when they crowd out more nutritious options from the diet. Context also matters greatly. A piece of birthday cake shared with loved ones in celebration provides not just calories, but joy, connection, and positive emotional experiences that contribute to overall well-being. The key is ensuring that the majority of food choices support brain health while allowing flexibility for foods that provide pleasure and social connection. Individual responses to different foods can vary significantly based on genetics, health status, gut microbiome composition, and other factors. Paying attention to how different foods affect your energy, mood, and cognitive function can help guide personal choices about which foods to emphasize and which to limit. The timing of potentially harmful foods can also influence their effects. Consuming sugary or highly processed foods when blood sugar is already stable and within the context of a balanced meal may have less dramatic effects than consuming them on an empty stomach or during periods of stress. Gradual changes tend to be more sustainable and less disruptive than dramatic dietary overhauls, rather than eliminating all processed foods immediately. Gradually increasing whole food consumption while slowly reducing processed food intake allows taste preferences to adapt and makes changes more sustainable over time. As we continue our exploration of nutrition and brain health, remember that understanding potentially harmful foods is not about creating rigid rules or feelings of guilt around eating. Rather, it's about developing awareness that empowers conscious choices that support the clarity of mind, emotional balance, and cognitive vitality that allow you to engage fully with life's experiences and relationships. The goal is not perfection, but rather consciousness awareness of how different foods affect your brain and body, allowing you to make choices that align with your values and support your overall well-being. In developing this awareness, you create the foundation for a relationship with food that nourishes not just your body, but your mind, supporting the cognitive clarity and emotional balance that enhance every aspect of your human experience. In the gentle rhythm of daily life, where small choices accumulate like snowflakes to create the landscape of our health and well-being, lies the profound opportunity to create patterns of nourishment that support not just momentary satisfaction, but the long-term flourishing of our most precious organ, the brain that creates our thoughts, emotions, and consciousness itself. Tonight, let us explore the art of building sustainable, brain-healthy eating habits that honor both the practical realities of modern life and the deep wisdom of nourishing our neural networks with intention and care. Creating lasting change in our relationship with food begins not with dramatic overhauls or rigid rules, but with gentle awareness and gradual shifts that allow our bodies and minds to adapt naturally to new patterns of nourishment. The brain itself, with its remarkable capacity for neuroplasticity, can learn to prefer foods that truly serve its function once we create the conditions for these preferences to develop. The foundation of brain-healthy eating habits rests on understanding that our food choices are influenced by multiple factors beyond simple willpower or knowledge. Our environment, emotions, stress levels, sleep quality, social connections, and ingrained patterns all play roles in determining what and how we eat. Sustainable change requires working with these factors rather than against them, creating systems and environments that make brain healthy choices easier and more appealing. Meal planning emerges as one of the most powerful tools for supporting consistent brain-healthy eating. When we plan our meals in advance, we remove the cognitive burden of making food decisions when we're tired, stressed, or hungry, states that often lead to choices that don't serve our long-term well-being. Planning also allows us to ensure that our meals include the nutrients our brains need, while avoiding the processed foods that may undermine cognitive function. Effective meal planning for brain health doesn't require elaborate menus or complicated recipes. It begins with understanding the basic components of a brain-healthy meal: a source of high-quality protein for amino acids and neurotransmitter production, complex carbohydrates for steady glucose supply, healthy fats including omega-3 fatty acids for neural structure and function, and colorful vegetables and fruits for antioxidants and phytochemicals. Building meals around these components creates endless possibilities while ensuring nutritional adequacy. A simple framework might include proteins like fish, eggs, legumes, or poultry, complex carbohydrates like quinoa, sweet potatoes, oats, or brown rice, healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, or olive oil, and a rainbow of vegetables and fruits that provide diverse nutrients and antioxidants. The timing of meals also significantly affects brain function and can be optimized to support cognitive performance throughout the day. Eating a substantial breakfast that includes protein and complex carbohydrates helps stabilize blood sugar and support neurotransmitter production for optimal morning cognitive function. This doesn't require elaborate preparation. Simple options like eggs with whole grain toast and vegetables or oatmeal with nuts and berries provide excellent brain fuel to start the day. Lunch timing and composition can influence afternoon energy and cognitive performance. Meals that combine protein with complex carbohydrates help prevent the post-lunch energy crash that many people experience. Including vegetables and healthy fats helps sustain energy and supports afternoon focus and productivity. Evening meals can be designed to support both brain health and quality sleep. Lighter meals that include some protein and complex carbohydrates, while avoiding excessive caffeine or large amounts of sugar, help prepare the body for rest while providing nutrients for overnight. Brain maintenance and memory consolidation. Snacking, often viewed negatively in diet culture, can actually support brain health when approached mindfully. Small snacks that combine protein with complex carbohydrates can help maintain stable blood sugar between meals, supporting consistent cognitive function. Nuts and fruit, yogurt with berries, or vegetables with hummus provide brain-supporting nutrients while preventing the blood sugar drops that can affect mood and concentration. Hydration habits are equally important for brain function and often easier to optimize than food habits. Keeping water readily available and drinking regularly throughout the day supports the hydration necessary for optimal cognitive performance. Some people find it helpful to start each day with a glass of water, keep a water bottle at their desk, or set gentle reminders to drink water regularly. Mindful eating practices can transform our relationship with food from unconscious consumption to conscious nourishment. This doesn't require formal meditation, but can be as simple as pausing before eating to appreciate the food. Eating without distractions like television or phones, or paying attention to hunger and fullness cues. These practices help us develop greater awareness of how different foods affect our energy, mood, and cognitive function. Creating a supportive food environment makes brain-healthy choices easier and more automatic. This might involve keeping brain-healthy foods readily available, while storing less beneficial options out of sight, preparing healthy snacks in advance, or organizing the kitchen in ways that make nutritious cooking more convenient. Social support plays a crucial role in sustaining healthy eating habits. Sharing brain-healthy meals with family or friends, cooking together, or simply talking about the connection between food and mental well-being can reinforce positive changes and make them more enjoyable and sustainable. Stress management becomes particularly important for brain-healthy eating because stress can trigger cravings for foods high in sugar, salt, and fat foods that may provide temporary comfort but don't support long-term brain health. Developing healthy stress management strategies like deep breathing, short walks, or brief meditation can help prevent stress-driven eating while supporting overall brain health. Sleep quality significantly affects food choices and should be considered part of any comprehensive approach to brain-healthy eating. Poor sleep can disrupt hormones that regulate hunger and satiety, making it harder to make conscious food choices. Prioritizing good sleep hygiene supports both better food choices and optimal brain function. Physical activity, while not directly related to eating, significantly enhances the brain benefits of good nutrition. Exercise improves blood flow to the brain, enhances the absorption and utilization of nutrients, and supports neuroplasticity. Even gentle activities like walking can enhance the cognitive benefits of brain-healthy eating. Gradual change tends to be more sustainable than dramatic overhauls, rather than changing everything at once. Focusing on one or two specific habits like adding a serving of vegetables to lunch or including omega-3 rich foods twice a week allows changes to become established before adding additional modifications. Flexibility within structure provides the balance needed for long-term sustainability. Having general patterns and preferences for brain-healthy foods while allowing for social occasions, treats, and foods that provide emotional satisfaction creates a sustainable approach that doesn't require perfection or rigid adherence to rules. Self-compassion becomes essential when developing new eating habits. Changes in diet, like any other behavior change, involve periods of progress and setbacks. Treating ourselves with kindness during this process, learning from challenges rather than judging them, and focusing on overall patterns rather than individual choices supports long-term success. Practical strategies can make brain-healthy eating more convenient and appealing. Batch cooking grains and proteins on weekends, washing and chopping vegetables after shopping, keeping healthy staples stocked, and learning a few simple, versatile recipes can remove barriers to nutritious eating during busy weekdays. Budget considerations need not prevent brain-healthy eating. Many of the most nutritious foods like eggs, legumes, seasonal vegetables, and certain fish are also economical. Buying in bulk, choosing seasonal produce and focusing on simple, whole foods often costs less than processed alternatives while providing superior nutrition for brain health. Cultural and personal food preferences can be honored while still supporting brain health. Every cuisine offers foods that are beneficial for cognitive function, and traditional eating patterns from around the world often include brain-healthy elements. The goal is not to abandon foods that have cultural or personal meaning, but to find ways to include brain-supporting nutrients within familiar and enjoyable eating patterns. Tracking progress can be motivating, but it's important to focus on the right metrics. Rather than counting calories or following rigid rules, noticing improvements in energy, mood, sleep quality, or cognitive function provides meaningful feedback about whether dietary changes are supporting brain health. Professional support may be helpful when making significant dietary changes, especially for individuals with health conditions, food allergies, or complex nutritional needs. Registered dietitians, particularly those with knowledge of nutritional neuroscience, can provide personalized guidance for optimizing brain health through nutrition. The integration of brain-healthy eating habits with other lifestyle factors amplifies their benefits. When good nutrition is combined with adequate sleep, regular physical activity, stress management, and social connection, the synergistic effects support not just brain health but overall vitality and well-being. As we conclude our exploration of creating brain-healthy habits, remember that this process is not about achieving perfection or following rigid rules, but about developing a conscious, caring relationship with the foods that nourish your most vital organ. Each meal represents an opportunity to support your cognitive function, emotional well-being, and long-term brain health. The habits you build today become the foundation for tomorrow's cognitive clarity, emotional resilience, and mental vitality. By approaching this process with patience, self-compassion, and gentle persistence, you create not just temporary changes but lasting patterns that support the flourishing of your remarkable brain throughout all the years of your life. In choosing to nourish your brain consciously and consistently, you're investing in your capacity for learning, creativity, connection, and joy. You're supporting the neural networks that allow you to think clearly, feel deeply, and engage fully with the rich experience of being human. This is perhaps one of the most profound forms of self-care, caring for the organ that makes all other experiences possible. As we drift gently toward the conclusion of our journey through the remarkable relationship between food and brain, let us pause in this quiet space to weave together the many threads we have explored, creating a tapestry of understanding that honors both the complexity of nutritional neuroscience and the simple wisdom of nourishing ourselves with consciousness and care. In this integration, we find not overwhelming complexity, but rather a beautiful coherence, the recognition that every aspect of nutrition works together in service of the remarkable organ that creates our thoughts, emotions, and awareness. Throughout our exploration, we have discovered that the brain's relationship with nutrition is not a simple matter of fuel and function, but rather an intricate dance of molecular transformation, where the foods we consume become literally incorporated into the structure and chemistry of consciousness itself. The amino acids from our morning eggs become the neurotransmitters that color our afternoon mood. The omega-3 fatty acids from evening salmon strengthen the neural membranes, through which tomorrow's thoughts will flow. The antioxidants from colorful vegetables stand guard against the oxidative stress that could cloud our mental clarity in years to come. This integration reveals the profound interconnectedness of all systems within our bodies and between our bodies and the world around us. The gut bacteria that transform our food into beneficial compounds, the blood-brain barrier that selectively allows nutrients to nourish neural tissue, the intricate feedback loops between our digestive system and our brain all work together in a symphony of biological cooperation that supports not just survival, but the flourishing of human consciousness. Understanding this interconnectedness shifts our relationship with food from mere consumption to conscious participation in the ongoing creation of our mental and emotional lives. We begin to see that there is no separation between the physical act of eating and the mental experience of thinking, feeling, and being aware. They are different aspects of the same fundamental process, the process by which we transform the world around us into the experience of being ourselves. This perspective brings both responsibility and wonder. The responsibility lies in recognizing that our food choices have consequences that extend far beyond immediate pleasure or satisfaction. What we eat today influences not just how we feel this afternoon, but how clearly we think next week, how balanced our emotions are next month, and how well our brains age over the coming decades. This understanding empowers us to make choices that serve our deepest values and longest-term well-being. The wonder lies in appreciating the miracle of this transformation itself. Every meal we consume sets in motion an incredible cascade of biological processes that somehow transforms simple molecules into the complexity of human consciousness. The glucose that fuels our neurons, the amino acids that become our neurotransmitters, the fats that form our neural membranes, these basic building blocks of chemistry, become the foundation for love, creativity, memory, and wisdom. This integration also reveals the importance of viewing nutrition holistically, rather than reductively. While understanding individual nutrients and their specific functions provides valuable knowledge, the magic happens in the interactions between nutrients, in the timing of their consumption, in the context within which they are eaten, and in the overall patterns of eating that develop over time. The Mediterranean diet works not because of any single component, but because of the synergistic relationships between olive oil and fish, vegetables and nuts, moderate wine consumption and social meals. The gut-brain axis functions not through any single mechanism, but through the complex interplay of bacteria, hormones, neurotransmitters, and immune factors working together to maintain the delicate balance that supports both physical and mental health. This holistic understanding suggests that the goal is not to optimize individual nutrients in isolation, but to create overall patterns of eating that support the multiple, interconnected systems that maintain brain health. It is about creating meals that provide sustained energy, while supporting neurotransmitter production, while delivering antioxidant protection, while nourishing beneficial gut bacteria, all simultaneously. Through the simple act of choosing foods that serve multiple functions, the integration of our exploration also highlights the importance of individual variation and personal awareness. While the basic principles of brain-healthy nutrition apply broadly to human physiology, each person's optimal diet will be influenced by genetics, health status, life stage, cultural background, personal preferences, and individual responses to different foods. This recognition calls us to develop our own awareness of how different foods affect our energy, mood, cognitive function, and overall well-being. It invites us to become scientists of our own experience, paying attention to the subtle and not so subtle ways that our food choices influence our mental and emotional states. Some people may discover that they think most clearly when they include more protein in their breakfast. Others may find that certain foods help them sleep better, supporting the memory consolidation and brain restoration that occur during sleep. Still others may notice that specific foods help them manage stress more effectively, supporting their emotional resilience during challenging times. This personal awareness, developed through gentle attention and mindful experimentation, becomes one of the most valuable tools for creating a sustainable, brain-healthy relationship with food. It moves us beyond rigid rules or one-size-fits-all approaches toward a more nuanced understanding of our individual nutritional needs and responses. The integration of our journey also emphasizes the importance of balance and flexibility. Brain-healthy eating is not about perfection, restriction, or the elimination of all foods that don't provide optimal nutrition. Rather, it is about creating sustainable patterns that consistently provide the nutrients the brain needs, while allowing for the pleasures, social connections, and cultural traditions that make eating a joyful part of human experience. This balance recognizes that food serves multiple functions in human life. While nutrition is crucial, food also provides comfort, pleasure, social connection, cultural identity, and emotional satisfaction. The goal is not to reduce food to mere medicine, but to find ways to honor all of these functions while ensuring that our overall eating patterns support optimal brain health and function. Flexibility becomes essential for long-term sustainability, life includes celebrations, travel, challenging periods, and changing circumstances that may temporarily disrupt even the best-intentioned eating patterns. A flexible approach that focuses on overall patterns rather than individual choices allows us to navigate these variations without losing sight of our long-term goals or becoming anxious about imperfection, the temporal dimension of our exploration from the developing brain of infancy through the aging brain of later life reveals that brain-healthy eating is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. The nutritional needs and optimal strategies for supporting brain health evolve throughout our lives, just as our brains themselves continue to grow, change, and adapt. This temporal perspective encourages us to think beyond immediate effects, toward the cumulative impacts of our choices over time. The antioxidants we consume today may help protect against cognitive decline decades from now. The omega-3 fatty acids we include in our diet consistently may help preserve memory function. As we age, the stable blood sugar patterns we create through careful food choices may support emotional resilience throughout our lives. Yet this long-term perspective need not create pressure or anxiety about every food choice. Rather, it can inspire us to see each meal as a small but meaningful investment in our future cognitive health and well-being. It helps us recognize that we have agency in shaping not just our current experience, but our future capacity for clarity, creativity, and connection. The social and cultural dimensions of our exploration remind us that brain-healthy eating happens within the context of relationships, communities, and cultures that give meaning to our food choices. The most nutritious meal consumed in isolation may provide less overall benefit than a moderately healthy meal shared with loved ones in joy and connection. This recognition invites us to find ways to honor our social and cultural food traditions. While incorporating brain-healthy principles, it encourages us to share our knowledge and enthusiasm for brain-healthy eating with others, creating communities of support around conscious nutrition. It reminds us that the act of preparing and sharing brain-healthy meals can itself be a form of caring for others and expressing our values. As we integrate all we have learned, we find ourselves returning to fundamental principles that are both scientifically sound and intuitively wise. Eat a variety of colorful, minimally processed foods. Include adequate protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates in meals. Stay hydrated. Pay attention to how different foods affect your energy, mood, and cognitive function. Create patterns that are sustainable and flexible rather than rigid and restrictive. These principles, simple as they may seem, encompass the vast complexity of nutritional neuroscience while remaining accessible and practical for daily life. They honor both the remarkable sophistication of the human brain and the fundamental simplicity of nourishing it well. In this integration, we also find a deep appreciation for the remarkable resilience and adaptability of the human brain. While optimal nutrition supports brain health throughout life, the brain possesses incredible capacity for healing, adaptation, and growth even when conditions have been less than ideal. It is never too late to begin supporting brain health through conscious nutrition, just as it is never too early to establish patterns that will serve us well throughout our lives. This resilience provides both hope and motivation. Hope that past dietary patterns need not determine future cognitive destiny. Motivation to begin making changes that, however small, can contribute to better brain health and cognitive function. The brain's neuroplasticity means that positive changes in nutrition can begin benefiting cognitive function relatively quickly, while also contributing to long-term brain health. As we prepare to conclude our journey, we carry with us not just information, but transformation, a deeper understanding of the intimate relationship between what we eat and who we are, between the foods on our plates and the thoughts in our minds. This understanding becomes a lens through which we can view every meal as an opportunity for nourishment that goes far beyond simple calorie provision. We have discovered that conscious nutrition for brain health is both profoundly simple and beautifully complex. Simple in its basic principles and daily practice, complex in its mechanisms and far-reaching effects. This paradox invites us to embrace both the ease of making brain-healthy choices and the wonder of their profound impacts on our most essential human capacities. In this integration, we find not the end of learning, but the beginning of conscious application, opportunity to transform knowledge into wisdom, understanding into action, and information into the lived experience of nourishing our remarkable brains with intention, care, and gratitude for the miracle of consciousness itself. As we complete our gentle journey through the beautiful relationship between food and brain, we find ourselves at a place of quiet understanding, carrying with us the peaceful knowledge that every meal is an opportunity to nourish not just our bodies, but our minds, our moods, and our capacity for wonder. Like ancient light finally reaching our eyes after eons of travel through space, the wisdom we've gathered tonight will continue to illuminate our understanding of how intimately connected we are to the world that nourishes us. Tonight, we have discovered that the boundary between self and world, between food and consciousness, is far more porous and beautiful than we might have imagined. The molecules that once danced in ocean currents become part of our neural membranes. The compounds that gave color to summer berries become protectors of our memory centers. The amino acids that began their journey in distant fields become the neurotransmitters that carry our thoughts and emotions. We have learned that every bite we take participates in the ongoing creation of who we are, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. The glucose that will fuel tomorrow morning's creative insights may come from tonight's mindfully chosen sweet potato, the omega-3 fatty acids that will strengthen next week's neural connections may arrive through this evening's serving of salmon. The antioxidants that will guard our aging brains decades from now may be found in the colorful vegetables we choose to include in tomorrow's lunch. This understanding transforms eating from a routine necessity into a profound act of self-care and consciousness. It reminds us that we are not separate from the natural world, but intimately connected to it, dependent on its generosity for the very thoughts we think and the feelings we feel. The soil that grows our vegetables, the waters that nurture our fish, the sunshine that powers photosynthesis all become part of the miracle of human awareness. We have explored the remarkable journey nutrients take from our plates to our neurons, crossing barriers and overcoming challenges to deliver the molecular messages that support our cognitive function and emotional well-being. We have seen how the brain, that 3-pound universe within our skulls, orchestrates the transformation of simple chemicals into the complex symphony of human consciousness. In our exploration of neurotransmitters, we discovered that the foods we eat provide the very vocabulary of neural communication, the serotonin that stabilizes our moods, the dopamine that motivates our goals, the GABA that calms our anxieties, the acetylcholine that sharpens our focus all arise from the nutrients we provide through our daily food choices. This knowledge empowers us to participate consciously in the chemistry of our own consciousness. We have learned about the gut-brain axis, that ancient communication highway that reminds us that the bacteria living within us are not merely passengers but partners in creating our mental and emotional experiences. The trillions of microorganisms that call our intestines home work tirelessly to transform our food into compounds that can influence our thoughts, our stress resilience, and our capacity for joy. Through our examination of foods that support memory and learning, we discovered that every act of remembering, every moment of creative insight, every flash of understanding depends not just on our efforts to pay attention, but on our long-term commitment to providing our brains with the nutrients they need to encode, consolidate, and retrieve the experiences that make us who we are. Our exploration of the developing brain revealed that nutrition's influence begins before birth and continues throughout the decades of growth and maturation that shape our cognitive potential. We learned that the foods provided to children and adolescents become integrated into the very architecture of their developing minds, influencing not just immediate performance, but lifelong capacity for learning, emotional regulation, and mental health. In considering the aging brain, we found hope and empowerment in understanding that cognitive decline is not inevitable, that the choices we make throughout our lives can support not just the preservation but the continued flourishing of our mental capacities. We discovered that it is never too late to begin nourishing our brains more consciously, never too early to establish patterns that will serve us well in all the years to come. Our gentle examination of foods that may harm the brain taught us not to fear or judge, but to Understand, recognizing that awareness empowers choice and that even imperfect choices made with consciousness serve us better than perfect choices made without awareness. We learn that balance and flexibility, rather than rigid restriction, create sustainable patterns that can be maintained with joy rather than struggle. The practical wisdom of creating brain-healthy habits showed us that transformation happens, not through dramatic changes, but through gentle, consistent choices that honor both our long-term well-being and our immediate need for pleasure, convenience, and social connection. We discovered that the goal is not perfection but consciousness awareness of how our choices affect our mental and emotional states. Throughout our journey, we have been reminded that food serves multiple functions in human life. While optimal nutrition supports cognitive function and emotional well-being, food also provides comfort, pleasure, cultural connection, and social bonding. The wisdom lies not in choosing nutrition over these other values, but in finding ways to honor all of them simultaneously, creating patterns of eating that nourish both body and soul. We have learned that the brain's remarkable neuroplasticity means that positive changes in nutrition can begin benefiting cognitive function relatively quickly while contributing to long-term